Hello, anyone who may be watching this. I see Paul is already in chat, so thank you for joining me. You're a trooper. You're always there to support. So thank you for joining me for another episode of Party Chat, episode 5. Unfortunately, my regular co-hosts Mark and Ryan are both traveling. Mark is in UK and Ryan is somewhere in the Midwest visiting family. So it's just going to be me and my awesome guests today, which are, you may have seen them before on my channel on one of my first open mics, but this is their first time on Party Chat. Got Melee James and Melee K from the Melee Games crew. Thanks for joining me today.
Of course, buddy. I am happy to be here. Welcome, everybody, to this amazing episode of Party Chat. You may know me from such occasions as Yoshi trying to have an abusive relationship with me, or maybe you know me from Todd Howard trying to install Skyrim into my ass. But I am so happy to be here. Hungover with my friend Nerdy Neo. How's it going, chat?
What's Thank you for joining me. Kay, how are you doing
today? How do I follow that up?
Let's get this party started.
I'm in. Let's do
Party Chat. Let's get this party started. Thank you. And for once, I can actually say good morning and have it apply to everyone on the panel, because usually my co-hosts are, Central and Eastern, but we're all in the Pacific time zone. So for us, it's still morning.
For them, it's like 2 o'clock, and they're like, dude, we already had lunch. Like, what are you saying?
Yeah. So, well, all right. So first thing we usually do on Party Chat before we get into the topics is talk about what we've been playing lately. So who wants to go first?
Ooh, what do we do? Kay, do you want to fight for the
sure.
opportunity?
I'll go first.
Okay.
I always fight for the opportunity on our podcast to go first too. There we go. Mine's a very simple one because I've been heavily concentrated on one game. So usually I have like maybe 3 or 4 that I'm juggling between. Right now, though, Sea of Stars. If you are a fan of 90s like JRPG, if you like Earthbound, if you like Super Mario RPG, any of this stuff, Chrono Trigger, everything, like, this is your game. This was made this year, and it is so good. It is so good. It makes me feel like I never left the 90s. So I highly recommend, if you like any classic Final Fantasies, any of that kind of stuff, this is your game. Even Earthbound. I had an Earthbound moment, and I was like, whoa, that's cool. So
can we trademark that Earthbound moment?
Earthbound moment.
There we go.
It's funny you mentioned Earthbound because I know of the franchise and I know Ness and Lucas came from it, and the only reason why I know that is because of Smash Bros. But the a podcast I was just listening to on my way home like 30 minutes ago, their weekly question was about Earthbound, and it was like, what city in Earthbound would you want to live in? I'm like, I don't know any of them. And
the first
so
one.
I think one of them mentioned like Happy something city.
Oh my god, Nerdy Neo, just here's the thing. You and I both aren't the biggest fans of like turn-based JRPGs.
Not a fan.
But you got to force yourself to play Earthbound. It's an experience, but you also got to not look into anything on Earthbound. It's one of those games where the more you know about it, it's going to ruin the experience. So I highly recommend you go in blind. You're not going to like the gameplay, but as a story, you need to play that game once in your life. And I don't want it spoiled for you. So just go in blind. But that's my problem with the game, right? Is there's a part where you need to look at the instruction manual. So don't look into the game, but then you have to get the
you mentioned that on the Get Ranked podcast. I think you guys were talking about Earthbound. You were saying something about that.
You have to go in totally blind, but make sure if you ever play it, just download a copy of the fucking instruction manual. If you play it like digitally somehow. I think it's not on the Switch yet, but it was on the SNES Mini. But yeah, you got to play that.
Yeah. So because I had Angry Canadian on open mic last night, and we talked about Sea of Stars for a little bit, because it's a prequel to The Messenger. Are you familiar with The Messenger?
I actually never played The Messenger, and now I'm going to because of this game.
Okay. So had you ever even heard of the Messenger before Sea of Stars?
I heard about it, and I know that it's based in the same universe, and that's what a lot of people were getting excited for, and I think that's why a lot of people rallied behind this game, because I think it was in a Kickstarter for a long time.
Okay.
So I never donated to that Kickstarter, but I know a lot of people online were like, this is finally out. I gave money to this. So a lot of people gave money for that reason. But that's all I know about it. I just know people like Messenger a lot.
Okay. So basically talked about this last night too, but the Messenger is a pixel art Metroidvania, and it looks like it came straight out of the 90s. It came out, I think, in like 2017, so it's pretty recent. And a lot of people like consider it like one of the best Metroidvanias. It was really good. I don't consider it in the top tier, but it was definitely good. I played through both the Xbox and Windows version and enjoyed playing through it both times. So when I first heard about Sea of Stars like a month ago, I was like, and I heard it was a prequel to Messenger. I'm like, sweet, another Messenger game. And then I looked into it and found it was a turn-based RPG. I was like, oh,
I think that's so cool though. I was actually talking about this a little bit in our Discord with DJ Axis, but I think a lot of where my contention with people and me having horrible opinions on games is I like when games stick thematically and story-wise to their sequels or their prequels or whatever, but but as long as if they flip the gameplay on its head, if the game is totally different, but the story and the theming is the same and it's still all correct and connects, unlike new Star Wars or something, I'm happy. Whereas I find that most people, it's like they want similar gameplay or they want the games to stay the same and they don't really care if the story messes around too much. And another indie developer that this reminds me of is Supergiant Games.
okay.
And
Yeah, I know where you're
Supergiant
going with this.
Games, they made so many indie games and all of them are considered 10s. And they all thematically, they're kind of in the same style, but every single game they make is like radically different from the last one. Like the only game I love from them is Bastion.
I knew you were
Yes.
gonna say that.
Yeah, and
then
it's so good.
And they flipped it on the head, and then they did. I don't know if it was the very next game, but I know the big thing that really put them on the map recently was Hades.
Hades blew up, and I don't even think Hades is like, as far as the roguelikes go, I don't even think it's in like a top 10. Like I think it's very overhyped, but it's like the fact that they keep making these bangers after bangers. They did Transistor as well. So I think this is where this studio is going. So they did The Messenger, and then they did a completely different genre with Sea of Stars. So I wouldn't be surprised if the next game they do is it looks the same, but it'll be like a first-person shooter. Like it would not
I'm
blow
in.
me. It wouldn't
So.
surprise me.
Yeah. So hello, Kendon Bronner. I've not seen you here before. Welcome.
How's it going, buddy?
Jerry Crow, I see you in chat a lot on Melee's stream. So thank you for joining me. I don't know if you've been on one of my streams before. So thank you for dropping in and saying hi. So, okay. So yeah, Kay has a lot of good things to say about Sea of Stars, which is basically what I've been hearing from anyone who actually likes turn-based RPGs. I've heard nothing but good things about it.
Here's the thing. So many people are complaining that there's not like enough good games out there anymore, all this kind of stuff. This game transports you back to the 90s. If you're looking for that experience that you feel like you can't have anymore, you can. There's a studio doing it. Sea of Stars is the game.
See, when you say transport to the 90s, I'm like, where's my Twisted Metal from the 90s? I want the edgy stuff from the 90s.
Yeah,
all the JRPG fans, they're eating good. They're happy. They're having a blast.
We're having good meals.
Where's my Attitude Era? Where's my wacky, zany American 90s?
But James, to your point, right? You were saying earlier the studio's making different style of games. Nerdy Neo was saying the same thing. Well, if we keep supporting this studio, they might make a game like your Twisted Metal or whatever you like.
All right, you hear that?
And they're going to
all
do
you
well,
JRPG fans out there,
everything.
do it. Give these people money, for the love of God, on the off chance that I can be happy.
Them and Joseph Fares. Like, It Takes Two does a similar meal where it's like all these different kinds of gameplays in one game. Same thing.
Yes.
Anyways, that's what I'm playing. I know we're just talking about games we're playing.
Cool. So yeah, the developer of The Messenger, so I'm assuming it's the same developer for Sea of Stars. Yes, is Sabotage Studios and published by Devolver Digital. And Devolver's got a lot of good games. And another thing that I really like about Devolver is a lot of their games come to Game Pass. So Messenger's not on Game Pass anymore, but it was at one point, and Sea of Stars launched into Game Pass as well. So if you got Game Pass, you got access to Sea of Stars.
Yeah.
So, James, what have you been playing?
Oh my God. I never thought I would do this in my life. I literally yesterday, I was so busy. I only had like a 20-minute window to play games. And I'm like, you know what? I'm going to do it on stream. Not yesterday, but on stream. I'm looking at it 11 days ago. I played and surprisingly beat one of my favorite games of all time, Unreal Championship 2, the best Unreal game ever, in my opinion. It again, we're talking about games that flip the gameplay on its head. This is what Unreal Championship 2 did back in 2005. It turned Unreal into a class-based shooter before class-based shooters were really a thing, and then it added melee combat. It is Unreal Championship. It's Unreal with Mortal Kombat, and they had a sweet, sweet love child, and it's a beautiful baby, and we all love it. Well, I love it. And so I beat the game on stream 11 days ago, and the game is hard as balls. I don't know how I did it, but we did it. And then here's the thing. This game is a little obscure. That's what I like, is the weird obscure games from the Xbox PS2 era. So we had people coming in to the stream, and it was people that loved this game as well, because it's like, oh my God, someone's playing this game? What? No one plays this game. And then we
18 years
talked
later.
about, yeah, exactly. And then we talked about it. And to unlock all the characters, you have to do something called the near impossible challenges in the game. And the near impossible, it's literally called the near impossible challenges. And I'm like, okay, look, the story was hard as balls. There's no way I'm doing these challenges, even though if you do all the challenges, you get to unlock Raiden from Mortal Kombat. But off stream, I decided to start ticking away at them just for fun. I'm like, you know what? Let's see. Let's just dabble in them. And there's about 16 of them. And then I started to notice, I'm like, oh, I'm halfway through these, but
Could
there's
you give us
still
some
no way.
examples of why they're very
Oh my
difficult?
God. Okay, so the game is already hard. The AI will 360 no scope you if they see a pixel of your head poking out the window. For you guys that don't know,
That seems
Unreal
fair.
Tournament, Unreal Tournament is the old school multiplayer FPS game, and then this game decided to hybrid it with a melee combat edge to it, and it's so freaking good. And there's parkour and abilities, and it's all this wacky stuff. So the game is already hard. Journalists back in 2005 were complaining about this game because they're like, the story's unbeatable, and we beat that on stream. Then I have these diehards coming in and saying the challenges are impossible. So we're playing it. Here's what the challenges do. It's like, okay, you have to win, right? You have to win a battle, but it's a team battle, but you're on a team of 1 and you're playing against the hard AI on a team of 3. And also the score cap is 20 and they already have a lead of 10. Enjoy, have fun. It's like, are you kidding me? That's pretty much all the challenges, and then they just change up from there. I think the hardest one was, I'm not much of a sniper person. I like my miniguns and I like my shotguns. So there was one where it was score of 20, 1v3, sniper rifles only. They disabled the fact that the sniper rifle could be shot like not zoomed in, and also every shot is a insta kill. So if you even shoot them in the ankle, it's an insta kill. And
So
I was
you
like,
can only shoot in first person?
yeah, you can. You pretty much, it's because every weapon in this game has an alt fire. So it's like the sniper rifle is the best weapon in the game, because if you zoom in, it's a sniper rifle. But if you shoot zoomed out, it's more of a rifle, and it shoots like a triple shot, and it's a little bit easier, but it does less damage.
That
So
sounds kind of like the Promethean rifle from Halo 4, where when you zoom in, it shoots like one blast, but when you zoom out, it's like a 3-round burst.
Yeah. I haven't played Halo 4 in so long, but no, that's a good comparison. So they disabled the fact that you can't use like the zoomed out shot, which is more my style.
Zoomed in. Okay.
So yeah, I had to take on 3 AI that will just boom hit you, insta kills, snipers only, and they had a 10 score lead. And I'm like, there's just no way. There's just no way. And so many of those challenges I did literally with 10 seconds remaining, and the kills could have gone either way.
Oh, so there's a time limit to it too.
Yes.
My
and
goodness.
you have someone in your
stacked deck against you.
You have someone in your ear being like, 5 minutes remain, and you're like, I just want to have fun. So I don't know how I did it, but that's what I've been playing. Like,
And you completed all the challenges, or you're still working on them?
I did yesterday, literally yesterday. In my 20-minute time window, I had 2 challenges left to beat before I had to go hang out with my friends and
Before
celebrate
I
a birthday.
had to go hang out.
I didn't want they were waiting for me. They were like, "Hey, we're outside." And I'm like, "Give me a minute."
This is true. I was like, James, we have to go. Like,
They were
they're
literally
waiting. The
outside.
reservations in like 20 minutes. Like, let's go. And he's
They were
like,
literally outside,
I don't
and I
care.
was doing the last challenge, and
That's funny.
it was literally it was you played as one character, you played as Raiden against 2 people, and it was like double damage and score of 15, and my score was like 13, and they had 12, and then they came up outside, and I'm like, no, they're gonna wait.
Now.
They're gonna wait. So yeah, I did the challenges yesterday. I unlocked Raiden. I'm probably going to stream the game again, and we're just going to have fun with it, because now that I unlocked all the characters, it's got a Mortal Kombat like ladder system where every ladder is unique for every character in that game. So I think we're just going to go through the ladder one day and hang out with chat, and because they all have a unique story that's just text-based. So I'm going to do the Raiden storyline, which is him entering the tournament to try to get champions for Earthrealm. The game's just so good. It's the best Mortal Kombat game that nobody knows about.
Yeah, because it was developed or co-developed by Midway, right?
Mm-hmm. It was published by Midway. And so Midway were my favorite publishers. My gaming heart died when Midway went under. It was honestly devastating for me. Devastating when Midway went under, because I played all of their games. They were my favorite publisher. They did all these wacky arcade crazy games for decades, and they were the Mortal Kombat guys. All their games were just like balls to the wall crazy. And they went under, I think, just before the 360 era. I think their last game was Spy Hunter, starring The Rock. It was that Spy Hunter.
You
remember that? Yeah.
I didn't play it, but I remember
I didn't play it either, but I want to play it because I think it was their last game. The last Mortal Kombat done by them was sadly MK versus DC, which I think is probably the worst Mortal Kombat. But yeah,
I think that one has a bad reputation, right?
Have you not played it?
I don't do fighting games, so no, I've never really played any Mortal Kombat, Street Fighter, Tekken. I haven't really done any of them.
Mortal Kombat's my one and only, because yeah, I suck at fighting games, but I love Mortal Kombat. But yeah, that one was really rough.
Yeah,
really
I suck too, which is why the only fighting game I do play is, well, haven't in a long time, but is Smash Bros. Baby's first fighter, as I usually call it.
Let's go.
Yes, I love Smash. Is probably my number 2 behind Mortal Kombat. So yeah, no, it's a good pick. Anyway, Unreal Championship 2, that's what I've been playing, and I love it, and I'm gonna stream it more. And I can't freaking believe I got through those challenges. That even the diehards that all they do is play this game, is they were like, "Don't do the challenges. You want to hate your life? Joke's on you. I already hate my life." And we did the challenges.
Well, that is very impressive that you got all those ridiculously crazy challenges. So,
legit the hardest thing I've done in a game in like probably 10 years.
And it definitely sounds like it.
Yeah.
So Paul says he's playing Cult of the Lamb, which I'm pretty sure is on Game Pass, and I've heard good things about it. It's like this cutesy looking game, but it's all about like you're this like cult that's like recruiting members to like sacrifice them or something. But it's like this cutesy art style, so it has kind of this Happy Tree Friends vibe. You know, it looks like it's for children, and it's definitely not.
I really want to play that. The theming looks a lot like Binding of Isaac, which I love Binding of Isaac. But
it does look like a similar art style.
Have you played it? Because I'm curious what the gameplay is like. I have no idea what the gameplay is like.
I've seen gameplay of Cult of the Lamb.
Yes.
I've seen a couple little clips in videos just going over like, here's games that are coming out this month or whatnot. But I haven't actually like watched someone play it. But from what few seconds I've seen, it definitely also looks like it plays similar to Binding of Isaac, but not 500 hours long.
Yeah,
or at least not for the completion.
Yeah.
So, and what's up, DJ Axis? Dropping in to say yo. Glad to see you here, buddy.
Howdy, DJ.
And he also says, don't forget Injustice, James, the best Zelda game.
Injustice, the best Zelda game. That is so true. Yes. Okay. Everyone's favorite Zelda game.
I know we have our thing about, Hyrule Warriors, but Injustice Zelda, like, I would think maybe Soul Calibur, since it had Link in it, but Injustice doesn't have anything to do with Zelda.
Here's the thing. So I think Geno's held on to this joke, and DJ has. Here's the thing is, I pretty much have Alzheimer's or something. I say things, and then I forget them 5 seconds later. So at some point...
memory.
Yes, very much. I am Dory from Finding Nemo. So I say a lot of things that I just don't remember. And so this is a joke that I said at one time on one of my streams. It must have been when I was playing Injustice. Guys in the chat. If you
I know the
this joke,
story.
okay, tell me. I don't remember.
It's because Tears of the Kingdom came out, and you were like, "Oh, everyone's gonna expect us to play the newest game or whatever it was."
Oh,
and
so this
was
like, pretty recent then, not something like years ago.
No, this is recent. And he's like,
"I'm gonna
troll."
Tuesday.
He's like, "I'm gonna troll and play the best Zelda game that there is," and then it was Injustice 2, and it was this whole like reveal that we did. And so that was why. That's where it stemmed from. It's not like his actual opinion on it, like Hyrule Warriors. It's just that he was like, I'm gonna do like a little swerve and make them think I'm playing like a Zelda game, but I'm actually playing Injustice.
I wanted people to come into the stream and be like, yeah, like, what are you doing? Exactly. This isn't Tears of the Kingdom. I'm like, what do you mean? Hyrule is right there. There's Link, and I point to Batman.
So you're pointing at Green Lantern. You're like, see, he's green. Like,
that was so good.
All right, I get it now. And so Paul says Cult of the Lamb is a dungeon roguelike. Okay. It's a mix of a dungeon crawler and a town sim.
Sold.
Hey, what's up, IJP Mexican? Glad you could join me again. He was in open mic last night. He's a friend of Angry Canadians, and I hope a friend of mine now as well. But favorite Zelda game is God of War 2005. And TJ says,
Man of culture.
Gets it. And then Paul says, ironically, God of War 2018, but geeks like Ocarina of Time.
I think I've never beaten any of the God of Wars. I played because I was an Xbox guy when they were present, like on the PS2 era. And I don't play the new ones because I have a weird brain where I need to play all of the games in the series. So I really need to go back and play all those God of War games. Have either of you played any of the God of War games?
I played the old school like PS2 ones. I have not touched the new gen God of War because to like anything I've seen, it just feels significantly different. I'm sure I'll enjoy the gameplay of them, but like I like the grittiness of the old school God of Wars.
Yeah.
And I'm going to refrain from answering for the moment because that's the answer to one of our questions.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
So I'll hold off on that part.
Perfect.
So before we get into our first topic, I've mentioned it basically. I've done like 4 streams this week. I did a bunch of test streams this week as well, and so I've kind of mentioned it on every stream. What I've been playing this week has been Metal Hellsinger. I've been panic playing it. It's pretty short, but it's leaving Game Pass next week, so I've been playing through that, and it's awesome. If you don't know what it is, it's basically Doom crossed with a rhythm game, and it's got super awesome metal music, just like Doom is. It's like if you like Doom and rhythm games, you'll like this game. And yeah, the music is awesome. So I've got 2 achievements left until I've gotten the completion on. There's a stack. So I played the Xbox Series version. Now I'm playing the Xbox One version because it was really fun and it's pretty short. So I'm like, I got no problem playing through it again. So I got 2 more achievements, then I'll have the completion on both before I get back to playing. The next game I'm going to be doing after that is I've already completed the base game, but I just have to go back and complete the DLC is for Ghost Recon Wildlands. I'll be doing that next because it plays into a contest that I'm doing this month on True Achievement. So that is what I've been playing lately and what I'm going to be getting back into. So
I really want to play Metal Hellsinger because I'm a huge metalhead, and I'm actually looking at the artists that are in the game right now, and yeah, it's pretty neat. Kay, you actually are probably going to play it because Alyssa's in it from Arch Enemy. She's one of the voices. So,
I'm in.
Yeah, she's an Arch Enemy fan.
Metal band. So there you
go. Yeah, the soundtrack is freaking awesome.
You got Trivium, you got System of a Down, you got Lamb of God, Randy from Lamb of God, who I used to be a Lamb of God fan. So yeah, no, it's a all newer bands for the most part. Apart from System of a Down, they're probably the most tenured. But yeah, interesting selection here.
Yeah, it's pretty short. So if you just wanted to play through it, you don't care about the completion, you could probably do it in a few hours. There's only like 8 levels, and they're not terribly long. So I would definitely recommend it, especially since it is pretty short. But yeah,
that's a huge selling point for me.
Yeah, the completion, getting all the achievements, is only like 8 hours estimated on True Achievements. So if you don't even bother with the achievements, you can get through it even quicker. So
nice.
So all right. Well, with that, we'll get into our topics for today. So we have a couple topics that were put forward by James and Kay here. So we'll go ahead and start off with Burley's.
AKA me. Did you see his face? He's like, what?
I didn't do anything. This is all her. She does the hard work.
I had a feeling it was probably just her, but I wanted to attribute it to both of you just in case.
I just look
I would
pretty.
have given him credit for the record, but he made that face.
I do nothing except look pretty and have bad takes.
We should make a shirt for James. It's basically like the Game of Thrones one that says like I drink and I know things. It's like I look pretty and I have bad takes.
I'll wear it.
Okay, so everybody. So I believe this. I might have switched the order. But I believe this is the one that you suggested, Kay. On what games did you never get to play that you always wanted to? Was that one of the ones that you suggested?
It was a little inspired, yes, a little inspired by our town square where we were talking about the Xbox achievements thing, and I started screaming at you about achievements ruining gaming. But then it kind of spurred that idea of like, what games have we all missed that we wanted to play?
So I'll go ahead and start because this is why I held off previously. The God of War games. I was a Nintendo kid and then an Xbox guy. So I've never owned a PlayStation, so I've never played a God of War game. But I love hack and slash games. Ninja Gaiden Black and Ninja Gaiden 2 are some of my favorite games of all time. So I know I would love the heck out of God of War. I just never had the platform, so I've never played any of them. But I always wanted to. It just never did. And I would love to go back and play through the whole franchise. Well, at least the mainline games, because I know there were like PSP ones that I probably would just skip those. But like the mainline games, I definitely want to play at some point.
Yeah, I don't know what the best way to play them is. This still might be the best way, but I've bought them and then I put them on a shelf. I played maybe 3/4 of God of War 1, and then I just stopped because I was playing something else at the time, and I never went back, so now I have to restart it. But PlayStation 3 did this awesome thing I loved where they would just upscale their games to 1080p, their old games, so on like PS2 and everything. So I have the God of War collection on PS3, and it's God of War 1, 2, and 3, and it actually includes the PSP games as well, which from what I've heard is if you're a God of War fan, it's just more God of War. It's just more, at least on a gameplay perspective. So that might be your best bet if you can find it. It's they all of their PS3 collections, their 1080p upscales, they all have like a white background with the main character just kind of standing there. And I own a few of them. They did them for all their main games like Ratchet and Clank, Jak and Daxter. So yeah, it's also, it isn't the game I'm going to talk about, but I agree with you 100%. I can't say no to a game that has a QTE sex scene. So God of War is immediately a great game.
So you said at the start of that, like you wouldn't really know what the best way to play them. Now, if Mark was here, he could tell us because he did like an hour-long retrospective on the entire franchise. So
I gotta watch that because
he would be able to answer that. He's done some really good in-depth retrospectives. One was on God of War, the entire God of War franchise, and he also did one on the entire Metroid franchise. So if you like either of those franchises, go check out Mark the Cyborg's retrospectives on those. They're excellent. So what game did you never get around to playing that you wanted to, James?
Me, God of War next. No, I'm joking. But it's also on my list, so I could be a real jerk and just be like, God of War, next question. But
it could be more than one answer. I've got a couple more here that I can talk about.
We should sync up and play God of War at like the same time because it's also on my list, and we'll see if we both love it. But so for me, I have a lot of games because as some people may or may not know, I have terrible takes in gaming. But I play a lot of unique games. I play whatever appeals to me. However, I do have a personal Rolodex in my brain of like,
you can remember it?
No. I burn it every week, but it's a personal Rolodex of these are important video games. These are important video games that I haven't played them for whatever reason. Maybe they're not kind of my style, like JRPGs or they're stealth games. But I need to play them one day because they're so important to me. So there's games like Silent Hill 2, a bunch of the Resident Evil games, Shadow of the Colossus. Those are all games that I've never played, but I consider them like the masterpieces of gaming. I have to experience them. But if I can pick one, because I have stories associated with this, it is Metal Gear Solid, and it's actually Snake Eater specifically.
That's 3?
Yes, but it's also a prequel, so you can start with it if you want.
Mark was telling me about it because I know almost nothing about the Metal Gear franchise, but I believe 3 is chronologically the first one.
Yeah, so it's a good starting point, and there's a reason why it's the one that I want to play. And just like with God of War, I own the PS3 or the Metal Gear collection. So I own both of these 1080p upscaled collections, and they just have been collecting dust. But Snake Eater is special to me because one of my first jobs out of high school was actually and it was volunteer work, but it was a lot of fun, was I did work with Video Games Live, which, if you guys don't know, Video Games Live was I think it still is, it's still going on, but it was Tommy Tallarico's video game concert series. And so
that
he
name
would travel.
Sounds familiar.
He did. Tommy Tallarico was the co-host on Electric Playground, which was similar to G4. It was like it was very Canadian, but it wasn't exclusively Canadian, so very G4. And then he did Video Games Live, and then he's also infamous for starting the what's the system?
Is it the ColecoVision?
The Coleco. Yeah. He's the main guy behind the ColecoVision that's not doing good, and no one knows what's going on with it. So yeah, Tommy's done a lot of stuff. Oh, it's a whole thing, dude. It's a whole thing. It was coming back, and it was pretty much a Kickstarter, and Tommy was like the main guy behind it. And then everyone's like, where is it? And where are the funds going? It's one of those things. And nobody,
it's basically like the Soldier Boy console.
Yeah, and it's been a big thing. And there's YouTubers. There's YouTubers that will focus like every day they're doing a video just being like, where's the money, Tommy? Where's the ColecoVision? So that's kind of his current thing that's going on. But yeah, so he did Video Games Live, which was a super freaking awesome concert series where he'd travel the world and he would just play music with an orchestra from your favorite video games, whether it was Portal or Donkey Kong. But that's how I got introduced to Snake Eater, was I doing work on Video Games Live. And the opening Snake Eater song is what they performed, and I got to see the show for free because that was our payment. Was like, yo, you're doing volunteer work for us, you get to see the show for free. And the Snake Eater opening theme is so good. It's so good. If you're a huge James Bond fan, it's intentionally very much that. It's a beautiful song, and just from that song alone, I'm like, I don't care that this is a stealth game, I am sold. It's so good, and I bought the collection right away. So I don't think I'm actually going to like it, but you
might. It's one of those series that can pass you by very easily.
What's the time frame between when you saw this like concert and now?
I think I was sold on the game, I want to say like 2011.
Okay, so it's been a while.
My backlog is old and dusty. So it's oh my god. There's so many games. So yeah, I will literally pick games out. That's why it's like I never run out of content for our streams. It's just like, I've never played this, and it's like, that came out in 1994. I know, I've never played it. It's been in the backlog that long. So yeah, one of these days I have to get the Snake Eater, and it's solely because of that opening theme is just beautiful.
Okay, nice. So before we jump in, I want to answer Paul. I have not played Dante's Inferno, but I do have it through Games with Gold. So I may have to put that into my backlog and play it at some point because I have heard good things about it. Although I did play the demo when the demo came out way back, but I never actually played the actual game. And
that one's also on my list, Dante's Inferno. I love the theming and aesthetic of it.
And IJP says the Shadow of Colossus is fantastic, which I've heard that from everyone, and it's always on lists of like some of the greatest games ever.
Mm-hmm.
So
one of the most copied games ever. That's one of the reasons I haven't played it, is I feel like I've already played it in like 50 different games because everyone just copied the mechanics from it.
Yes. So since I'm an Xbox guy, we don't have Shadow of the Colossus on Xbox, but there is a homage to it, I guess. So I have that, and that's in my backlog, and that's called Pray to the Gods, but it's like Praey.
Oh yeah.
So it was like an indie game. So I have that. I've heard good things about it. Like, it's a little clunky, not as streamlined, I guess, as Shadow of the Colossus, but it basically is an homage to that game. So I've got that in my backlog to play at some point. So, okay, what about you? What's a game that you never got a chance to play that you always wanted to?
Mine's gonna upset both of you a lot.
How dare you? How dare you?
I'm offended already, and I don't even know what it is yet.
I picked 3 for this, but I'm gonna say the one that I think like will hurt both of your souls, which is Metroid.
Oh. What? Wait, what? Which?
Yes,
which?
That hurts.
Which Metroid?
That's a good question. Which Metroid? Like the entire franchise?
I'm going to say technically the entire franchise because I did play the SNES one once.
Super Metroid.
Like, super long time ago.
That's one of the
barely remember the game. I've never touched Prime at all, which I consider a whole other series in itself. So I can say I've never played a Metroid just on Metroid Prime alone. Right. But yeah, I've only ever touched the SNES one. I think I beat it once. And then I never went back to any Metroid ever again. So that's like when we talk about Nintendo, that's really the only like big Nintendo franchise that I can't speak on.
And I think it's arguably the best Nintendo franchise. It's so
I was just saying that last night. I think Metroid is the best Nintendo franchise, but sadly, it's it doesn't sell as well as like Zelda and obviously Mario. It's probably Nintendo's biggest underdog that doesn't get the recognition it deserves. But really was the highest selling Metroid game of all time, which was the heartening, I guess, because disheartening, the opposite of that would be heartening. Like it makes me happy to hear that.
I was literally going to say, like, Dread turned everything on its head, and I really hope Nintendo pays attention to those numbers. Dread is... And Nerdy Neo, you haven't played Dread yet, right?
I don't have a Switch, so I haven't played Dread yet.
Stupid good. It's stupid,
I can't wait.
Good.
That's whenever I do get a Switch, that is going to be one of the games I get with the Switch.
Yeah, number 1 for sure. So yeah, Kay, you need to play Dread, you need to play Fusion, and you need to play Super Metroid again. I'm happy you at least played the one that's like the essential, in my opinion. Like that's the best. I think we talked about it on the Get Rank stream, but Super Metroid, I think, is the best story in a Nintendo game ever.
You were saying that, yes, you were.
Yeah, it's so good, and it's the essential one. So you've played the best one, in my opinion, but like Fusion is
I thought that's always a toss-up for people because there's some people that really love the SNES one, and there's some people that are just into the Prime trilogy, right?
I like Prime better than Super Metroid, but they are both top-tier S-rank games. But so if you were to go back and play them, I would say, like, for Metroid 1 and 2, don't play the originals because they're remakes of them. Like, if you're going to go back and play the original Metroid, play Zero Mission because that's a more modern remake and it was a Game Boy Advance game, and that was a good one. Metroid Fusion, I believe, was Metroid 3 because Super Metroid was Super Metroid was Metroid 3. Metroid Fusion would be considered Metroid 4, and Dread is Metroid 5, essentially. Metroid 2... Nintendo has an official remake, and that's Samus Returns, which is a 3DS game, I believe.
I want it ported so bad to the Switch.
But there are also other ones. There's a fan-made one called AM2R, which stands for Another Metroid 2 Remake, which Mark, my co-host, also has a great video on. And that's a free-to-play download game, and it looks and plays just like Super Metroid, but it's basically the original Metroid 2 with upgraded graphics. So if you don't have a 3DS to play Samus Returns, then play it via AM2R if you're going to play through it. But yeah, I love the entire Metroid franchise. You know, I've said many times, I'm a huge Metroidvania enthusiast. It's like my genre. So of the Metroid games, the only one I haven't played is Dread because I don't have a Switch. And I say that I have to put a little asterisk on that because I've not played Federation Force, but it's not a Metroid game.
Nobody cares. Nobody cares about Federation Force.
That was a DS game, I believe, because it came out not long after Metroid Prime Hunters, which was also a DS game. Because I had that one, but I never actually beat it.
Yeah, there's a maybe my favorite timeline graphic ever is made by this guy on Twitter called @Doughboy. I posted it in our Discord actually just now because I'm just so upset that Kay hasn't played many Metroid games. But I love how sleek and clean the Metroid timeline is because it's like Metroid.
Yeah, you brought that up.
Yeah, and it's like Metroid 1, or you can play Zero Mission, and Zero Mission is amazing. I'm going to stream that one day. And then Metroid 2 or Samus Returns, and then Super Metroid, and then Other M, but a lot of people don't talk about Other M, and then Fusion and Dread. The Prime series, I don't know how Nerdy Neo feels about this. I've only played Prime 1.
Okay.
But I felt like the game was amazing, and the gameplay is amazing, but the story really doesn't matter. Like it feels like kind of inconsequential to the Metroid series, and it takes place. The entire Prime series takes place between Metroid 1 and Metroid 2, and I feel like that's
I
very
did not know
intentional.
that.
Yeah, so Metroid
I
Prime,
thought it was just a
Hunters,
branching
Echoes.
timeline.
Yeah, no, it goes Metroid and then everything Prime related, and then 2 Super, other Fusion, Dread. So Dread's the
Interesting.
most recent thing in the timeline, and it's you gotta play it.
I remember you bringing up that graphic of the timeline for Metroid, saying like how neat and clean it is compared to the Zelda one, where you got all these different paths.
I love me Zelda.
Yeah, Metroid is sleek, baby.
Paul says he played Super Metroid 15 years ago after he beat it. He got a Samus tattoo. Nice.
I've seen that tattoo. It's beautiful.
It's a nice
Paul.
tattoo.
He showed me his Street Fighter one, but I don't think I saw the Metroid tattoo. I only played Super Metroid and Prime 3.
Am I thinking of the right tattoo? I remember he's got like a sleeve. Paul, you gotta send us pictures.
Paul, you got Paul owns a Switch. Paul, you need to play Metroid Fusion because you can play it if you're subscribed to the live service where you get GBA games for free. I say that in quotations because
just like you get it for free on Game Pass.
Yeah,
exactly,
so Nintendo's Game Pass, which I never know what to call it. I call it the Virtual Console, but that's not actually the name. But Fusion is included in that if you get the upgraded pack, and Fusion is the prettiest Metroid in my opinion. Like I love looking at Fusion. The colors just pop, and everything.
It is much brighter than the rest of the games. Probably the biggest complaint for most people on Fusion is it's too hand-holdy.
Really? I haven't heard that.
Because instead of like kind of like an interconnected world, it's like the space station, and you have, let's see here. There's all these little like.
That's
if
true.
You're looking at it, it's round and it's got like these 6 containers, and each one's like its own contained biome. And so like you go into each one, and then you have to talk to the computer, and it tells you go here and do this, and then you get there, and then it tells you go here and do this, and you go into the next biome. It's not like doesn't feel quite as much as like an interconnected world like most of the other Metroid games. I still love Fusion, but I totally get it when people are like, I didn't like how hand-holdy it is.
It is when
other Metroid games.
Now that you brought it up, it is compared to Super Metroid a lot more like that. However, in Fusion, you can still, and it's recommended that you do like backtrack and get, your health tanks and your missiles. So it's like the computer will be like, you need to go do this right now, but you can be like, screw you, computer. I'm going to go get my health tanks. So you can still do that. Whereas Super Metroid is like, you're alone on an alien planet. No one's talking to you. No one loves you. So it's
just like, go out into the world and figure out where you're supposed to go and what you're supposed to do. Where Fusion is like, go here and do this. You don't have to do it right now. You can go off and do other stuff. But it's always telling you, which I like that aspect, because that's one of my biggest pet peeves is when it's like, okay, here's the world. And it doesn't tell you, if I want to go down the critical path, where do I go? It's I love having just something on the map showing me, hey, if you want to go to your next like objective, here's where you go to do it, rather than nothing on your map. You just have to figure out where you need to go. That's a pet peeve of mine.
Did you see when Super Metroid got re-released on the Wii U? This was when Miiverse was still a thing, which I could talk about Miiverse forever. It was Nintendo's social media, and so much comedy came from it because it was obviously mostly little kids on there, and you pretty much posted. It was like Twitter, but you would post in groups under the game that you're playing.
Okay.
And you could see all of these, and you can look up images and images and images of people playing Super Metroid for the first time. And it's the funniest thing ever. Like, I think the famous one is, why can't Metroid crawl? And they're just staring at a hole. And it's like,
I've seen that.
That's all from Miiverse.
Samus.
Yeah, that's all from Miiverse. Just look up. Everybody should just go look up like Super Metroid Miiverse. And it's the funniest stuff, because Super Metroid, if you don't know what you're doing, it's hard. Actually, one of my best friends started playing it for the first time. He's a huge Sony pony. All he plays is PlayStation, but he's like, I've never played Super Metroid. And I'm like, what's wrong with you? And so he started playing it, and he was doing the same thing. He's like, why can't I open door? And I'm like, you'll figure it out.
Okay. A couple other quick ones I wanted to mention. One that I wanted to play before third-person shooters were a thing, because like there were a few third-person shooters before Gears of War, but Gears of War is really what put the third-person shooter genre on the map.
It was the biggest one, yeah.
was a game called Kill Switch, and I thought that was really cool because we'd never like seen the concept of a third-person shooter before. I'm like, that looks really interesting, but I never got around to actually playing it. And then Gears of War came out.
Kill Switch was so good. I also want to play that. I think we need to compare our lists here, but Kill Switch, I only played it on. I subscribed to Xbox Magazine, official Xbox Magazine.
I had that for years.
I loved those demo discs, and I got rid of all my demo discs, and I regret it every single day. I had to move and downsize.
Shameful.
And I had to get rid of my demo disc. I kept the
I wonder if I have any
rare
demo discs left. I might.
The rare one with Metal Wolf Chaos. I kept that one. I kept the Metal Wolf Chaos one because that one was like worth money back in the day. But yeah, Kill Switch is actually good, and I've only played the demo disc version on official Xbox Magazine, but I always wanted to go back to it.
And then one that I didn't have on my list until last night when Angry Canadian was on, and he mentioned this. I'm like, oh, I need to put that on my topics for tomorrow, or my answer for one of the topics. A game that I always wanted to play, but I never got to. And it's almost a shame given that my other online persona is, Boba Fett, is I never played Star Wars Bounty Hunter, and I always wanted to. So that's another one I need to go back and play at some point. Hello?
Oh, I think we lost James.
I was like, I hear a slight echo of me.
Yeah, you hear him from my mic, but we lost James.
Uh-oh.
What the hell happened?
Yeah, we're still live.
Yeah, we're hanging out. You're just frozen.
Yes.
There we go.
We're
okay.
Here, James.
We're on the same internet.
Yeah, it's like I would think if one of you dropped out, it'd be both of you, unless it must be his computer. But yeah, Bounty Hunter was one that I always wanted to play, but I never got around to it. So I need to play that at some point.
There's so many Star Wars games. It feels like it's impossible to tackle all of them. Like
there's
definitely
a lot.
Few for me too. I think like it's like the X-Wing and like all the ones that are like kind of PC older Star Wars games.
There was X-Wing. There was X-Wing, which I didn't play X-Wing. There was TIE Fighter, which I had, and I still have my disc. That one was awesome. There was X-Wing Alliance. And there was also X-Wing versus TIE Fighter. There he is. He's back.
What's going on? Am I here now?
I don't get why you broke and I didn't.
Did you boomer your computer?
I don't know. Do I need to abuse this thing more? Like we're on the same internet, and then I was getting a pop-up saying we're having trouble connecting you, and I'm like, how? It's either both of us go down or none of us go down. But
that's what I figured. What's up, Tim Stock? Thanks for joining in here for another episode of Party Chat. So yeah, I was just saying, Bounty Hunter was one that I never played that I always wanted to, so I'll have to at some point. And Kay was mentioning the old flight sim games of X-Wing, TIE Fighter, X-Wing Alliance, X-Wing versus TIE Fighter, and there was one more that had the Millennium Falcon on the cover.
That was X-Wing Alliance.
Oh, that was X-Wing Alliance? Okay.
Yeah. If you get those games, you definitely need to get them on GOG. The Steam versions are sketchy and broken for that entire series. And this is when I highly recommend GOG, is anytime you're buying an old game, it's in the name, Good Old Games, like buy your old games on GOG, because they actually put in the work of like, let's make sure this runs on an old PC. Because Steam, they kind of just go, whatever you want to put up there is fine. And I bought TIE Fighter recently on Steam, and it does not work, and so that was a waste of money.
Because I mentioned it last night, or maybe in one of my recent test streams, but I pulled out my CD tower that's got all my old PC games in it, and TIE Fighter's in here somewhere. I pulled it out the other night, so I still have my disc for it. I mentioned it in your Discord the other day, but I don't know if you saw that.
I want to see a stream from you where you just look through all those discs. That looked like a lot of discs. I'd be down to just see like
it's not entirely full. It's about 75% full, but that's a good idea. I like it. I will probably do that maybe next week.
Yeah, you should. You should.
A lot of them are because PC games back before we had DVDs. It's like a lot of them are like one game is like 6 discs.
Yeah,
that's true.
And then the last one is, and I'm going to also be playing it at some point, is KOTOR 2. I never played.
Oh my god! Oh my god! Help!
Oh my god!
Have we talked about this
Please
already?
play it on PC.
Everyone
Oh, yeah,
needs
I will.
everyone needs to talk to
Okay.
me before they play KOTOR 2 because
Yeah,
I
like-
have a abundance of caveats. You need to play it on Steam
with
and you
the
need
mod that restores the content.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. And it's so easy to install on Steam. You just go into the Steam workshop and you click 2 buttons. Boom, bidding, bang, boom. You're done. And it's golden. It's golden. It's golden.
Please stream that. I want to watch you play through it.
Okay, and
Please-
before
I
I
will
do
watch
though,
it.
I'm gonna play through KOTOR 1 because I haven't played KOTOR 1 since like 2007, so it's been a
Oh,
very long
yes.
time.
By the
That
way,
doesn't need any mods.
KOTOR 1 also has some minor restoration. It doesn't need at the same level as KOTOR 2, but you can get some mods for KOTOR 1 as well, and it adds a little bit extra dialogue. So if you've already played that game, it's just a nice little like cherry on top.
It doesn't have the workshop support though. Only KOTOR 2 has workshop.
Does it not have workshops?
Nope, only KOTOR 2.
Oh man.
So I've
okay.
still got my KOTOR discs.
Oh, nice.
It's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. So
That's sweet.
Well, I gotta show you all something. I'm gonna be right back. I'm gonna show something.
funny thing about
right
this
back.
though is this actually belongs to one of my good buddies from high school. He let me borrow it, and then every time I saw him after I beat it,
Hi, everybody.
I kept forgetting to give it back to him back, but I still got it, so I can give
Keep
it
it
back to
forever.
him. But I doubt he's ever going to ask me for it back. But I still have it.
There we go. That's
Okay.
KOTOR signed by
On Xbox.
Jennifer Hale right there. That's
Oh, that's awesome! I was talking about Jennifer Hale last night because she voices one of the 2 characters in Metal Hellsinger.
Dude, Jennifer Hale voices like every female character ever. I
Everything.
feel like there's
She's
always a game.
awesome.
I'm like, oh, that's Jennifer Hale. Every single favorite game of mine has one character played by Jennifer Hale.
Jennifer Hale's awesome. She's one of my favorite voice actors. It was, and in Metal Hellsinger, her voice is very masked with filters to match the character that she plays. But I was like, that sounds a lot like Jennifer Hale, and I looked it up, and I was right. I was like, nailed it. I'm good.
Yep. She's got a certain sound that you can hear every time.
And my favorite, of course, is because she voices Fem Shep in Mass Effect.
Which
Yes.
I always did Chad Shep, so I never got to experience her. I was Mark Muir every single time, so I never did the Fem
I
Shep.
think that's one of her
Okay.
best performances, honestly. Like,
So
she's
good.
really good in Mass Effect.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I heard
Good job,
that,
man.
but every time I play Mass Effect, I love Mark Muir's like just no line delivery where he's just like, you know what? Nope, I'm gonna kill everybody. Don't care.
It's interesting with Mass Effect as well because, like, for me, I've always done the female run, and so for me, that's always like Jennifer Hale is massive, like is Shepard
Is
to me.
Shepard to you.
And like both of the voice actors for male and female are just so strong that whatever playthrough you went through, that is your Shepard, and it just feels correct. And I love
Yeah.
that. It doesn't feel like the voice acting is off with, because you can have games like that where they have like 10 different kinds of voices you can add to your character, and it's like, no, I don't like this. Mass Effect, no matter what path you choose, it sounds good.
Yeah, one of the some stream I was listening to this week, they were talking about like, do you play when you have given the choice, do you play with male or female main character? I always do my first playthrough usually as male, and then I'll do my second playthrough as female.
I always do the dudes. I'm someone that does the dudes, but all my
James
friends
does the dudes.
I do the dudes, but
How does that make you
Quote
feel,
that one.
Kay?
but all my
Just
friends
another
like
day,
to do,
really.
all my friends like to do the ladies. They all do the lady runs, and they're like, we want to stare at the nice lady butts, and I'm like, well, I can't say no to Chad Shepard. And yeah, right there, Jerry Crow says female for the booties. Everyone I know plays women, so they got something to look at. And guess what? I do the same when I'm playing the dudes.
Alrighty then. So before we move on to our next topic, any other games you want to quickly mention that you never got around to playing that you wanted to?
I'll drop a quick bomb that, I mean, James knows this one, so he won't be too shocked anymore. But one that I can't revisit even if I tried, and I just missed the boat on completely, which would be World of Warcraft. I never got to do that. And so I didn't play it when I was younger because I was like, I'm going to get addicted to this game. Like, it looks fantastic. I want to jump in it, but I want to do other things with my life. I want to have a social life, all this stuff.
I want to play
And so-
more than just one game.
Yes, exactly. I want to like get to experience a bunch of games. And that was actually the core time where I was playing a majority of my games. So I would have actually missed out on a lot of things if I didn't do that. But unfortunately, I missed out on that experience. And I always put it off as like, I can get to it later. Like, it's such a like big
you can't
game
go
that
back.
one day I'll still be able to get to it and like it'll still be there. But multiplayer games, as we all know, like those online services, eventually they die out in one way or another. And in this case, you cannot play the same vanilla WoW that existed at that time now. So I'll never experience that in my life. That's my biggest gaming regret, I would say.
Okay.
Okay, as God is my witness, it's not the same, but I will do a stream with you where you'd play vanilla WoW, but it's not the same. It's not the same that it was. You can never go back. You missed out on so many amazing experiences. In fact, on one of the earlier party chats that Nerdy Neo did, they were talking about a game that you have the most hours in, and I can't calculate it, but for me, World of Warcraft was over a decade of hours. Like I played that since launch all the way up to Legion, on and off. Like I would skip one expansion, then I'd be all in on the next expansion. So I don't know how much time I spent in World of Warcraft, but it was easily World of Warcraft for me. Like that was a life that I gave up. I still miss that man that I gave up out there. But yeah, you can't go back.
You can't experience it anymore. I think that's a good lesson for people, that if you're trying to like see if you should play a game now, you should. Like if you're ever on the fence, just try it, especially with the online stuff, the multiplayer stuff. Yep. Try it in that time, because we've seen a lot of online games go away, and that one to me is it's the most like pop culture relevant game that I know I would have loved as a big Lord of the Rings fan and all this kind of like medieval stuff and everything. I would have loved that world, and I loved the movie so much. But I never got to experience the living, breathing world in the way that like everyone grew up on. So
that was my final nail in the coffin for Blizzard. I already hated Blizzard by the point Vanilla came out. Vanilla, it was their re-release of Vanilla WoW, and them banning my guild that I made new friends in. It felt like old WoW. I was having a good time. I was making new friends, just like old internet was, and then they banned my guild for something they would have never banned back in the day, back in 2004. I was like, I'm done with you, Blizzard. Never again. And I all those friends and everything I made and all that stuff, I lost all connection with, all because Blizzard was like, you shouldn't have done that. And it's like, screw you, Blizzard. Screw you.
All right, I want to hear more about that, but I'll ask you about that some other time.
It's a lot.
And Paul says he never got to play Anthem. It is still playable, although I don't think you're missing out on much.
Yeah, was Anthem ever outstanding though? I always heard it was okay.
No, it looked awesome until it came out, and I played the demo, and I was like, "This is like loading screen the game."
Oh god,
PS3 the demo had like one mission, and it was like 20 minutes long, and I spent half of that time in loading screens. And it looked like it was going to be, an Iron Man simulator. You can fly around anywhere, but your suit like overheats in like 10 seconds, so you can't stay airborne for very long. So I was like, this is not what we thought it was going to be. Oh, okay. He was joking. Anthem is garbage. Yeah.
Isn't it shocking that Iron Man was like the biggest superhero there for like 8 years or something, and we never got like an amazing Iron Man game? That's pretty crazy. And yeah, Anthem
was the VR game.
Yeah, that would have been the closest thing we got to a good Iron Man game, but then it turned out to be terrible. And then they're like, "Oh, we're gonna rework the game for Anthem 2.0," and then that got scrapped too. So, all right. So on to our next topic. I think, this was one of my topics that I've had on my list for a long time. So, what's a character or characters that in games, of course, that you found the most annoying?
Rosh.
Oh, for Jedi Academy?
Rosh. I'm sorry I took over, but I get PTSD. Rosh Pennon, wherever you are. I hate you. Nerdy Neo, I can't remember if we talked about this. Have you played Jedi Academy?
Oh, yeah. I need to play through it again. It's been a long time since I've played it. And I didn't have it for a long time after it came out, where I got like Jedi Outcast like on launch. So I played Jedi Outcast probably like 10 times, but I've only played Jedi Academy like twice, even though the combat's better.
It's so good. So yes, Rosh Pennon from Jedi Academy will forever be the most annoying character in a video game. If you've played Jedi Academy, it's like an in-joke with everyone that's played Jedi Academy that Rosh Pennon is the most annoying character in existence ever. He makes Jar Jar Binks.
Shut up, Meg. Shut up, Rosh.
He's literally the Meg. He's the Meg of video games. He makes Jar Jar Binks look like the Dalai Lama or something. I don't know, Misa finding inner peace or something. It's incredible. So spoilers for if you guys have not played Jedi Academy, But yes, Rosh, in Jedi Academy, you are a Jedi apprentice and you're going to meet Luke Skywalker. They take place after the sixth film, Return of the Jedi. And you make a new character to train under Luke, and you are on a ship full of apprentices, and you meet your friend by force. He forces you to be friends with him, Rosh Pennon. And from the start,
this is the opening cutscene of the game.
The opening cutscene of the game, he's like, "Hey, I'm Rosh, by the way. Who are you?" And he's like all in your face, staring at you, not blinking, with soulless eyes. And literally, the first mission is Kyle Katarn, the best Jedi ever. Katarn. Yeah, I'm Canadian. I say things wrong, right, Paul Hadoken? I say things wrong up in Canada land. But
he's my second favorite Star Wars character.
That's a great choice. I love Kyle Katarn. I can't say things right. Anyway,
Katarn.
There you go. I sound dumb in my head when I say that. It's like I'm rolling that R so hard. But the opening mission is you just have to do a training course, and it's you and Rosh are doing the same course at the same time. And Rosh is like, "This is a race," and Kyle's like, "No, it's not a race. I never said it was a race. What's wrong with you, Rosh?" So he goes over to your race and turns the difficulty up to 11. And you have to like fight for your life. And Kyle at the end of the mission is like, "Rosh, you set it to Luke Skywalker's setting, who's like the greatest Jedi that ever lived. He literally could have died. What's wrong with you?" And Rosh is just like, So here's the thing. Jedi Academy, before KOTOR was a thing, they gave you a light side, dark side choice in these games. So the second to last mission, you can go light side or dark side, and you're given the choice. Can you guess what that choice is, chat? Can you guess what that choice is?
Dark side.
The choice is literally, do you kill Rosh or not? Who doesn't?
I think the light side choice should be to kill Rosh.
Yes. Thank you. You saved the galaxy. So I remember playing through this game over and over and over again. And I'm a dark side supremacist. I love the dark side. So I tried to do a light side run. I tried. And then I got to the point where it's time to kill Rosh. And I'm just like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I got to kill you.
I can't bring myself to do it.
Yes. Have to kill you. So yes. Rosh.
Yeah. So Jedi Academy has the option to go light side or dark side. Jedi Outcast did not. The one before that, Dark Forces 2, Jedi Knight, did.
Yeah.
But the way that Jedi Knight did it is very unique and not something I've seen in probably any other game that has a good side, bad side. Not necessarily Star Wars, because in Star Wars it's always gonna be light side, dark side. But like in Mass Effect, you got Paragon and Renegade. But you have all these games with different like morality choices. That there's a lot of time there's some point usually near the game where you have a choice to make. You're either going good or you're going bad. Force Unleashed, I think both Force Unleashed have it at some point. I know one of them does. But one of the unique things about Jedi Knight is there is a point about midway through the game where that happens. However, you don't get to choose. It's based on what you've been doing through the game so far. So if you've been doing more good stuff, at this point, you're light side, and if you've put any points into dark side, they get refunded, and you can't pick any more dark side powers. Or if you've been doing some bad things up until that point, your light side powers get refunded, and you can put them into your dark side. So you don't like say, "Oh, I'm gonna hit A to kill this person or hit B to save this person." It just plays out based on the choices, not the choices, but how you've played through the game so far, which is really cool that I've not seen in like any other game. It's usually always push A for good side or push B for bad side. Jedi Knight, it's just based on what you've been doing through the game so far. So you can't, if you want to go and play it through the other way, you can't just go back to that point and take the other option. You have to start the game and play through the whole game again and actually play the opposite of what you've been doing.
Yeah, I think it's heavily tied. It's been so long since I played it, but I think it's heavily tied to where you put your light side, dark side points. And so if you want the proper light side run, which I actually prefer the light side run in Dark Forces 2, because it just fits Kyle's character so much better.
It's the canon ending anyways.
Yeah, and God, I love that game so much. I've said this before, but Dark Forces 2, that is my episode 7. So everyone kind of has their own kind of mental episode 7. A lot of people think it's this. Actually, I'm reading it right now, Heir to the Empire. That's the popular choice for the real fans episode 7. But for me, Dark Forces 2, and if you guys don't even want to play it because it is very dated, go look up the Dark Forces 2 the movie, and it just takes the cutscenes and puts them all together, but it's live action cutscenes, and
they're all FMVs because
yes,
graphics back then were pretty terrible.
Good. It's so good. It's so good, and you can get popcorn and watch it like a movie. And I've watched Dark Forces the movie so many times, and it's a freaking blast.
I need to go back and do that because
I'll send you the video.
I played
so
through
good.
Jedi Knight tons of times, and then because there was the expansion was Mysteries of the Sith, where you actually play through most of it as Mara Jade. That did not have FMVs. The cutscenes were actually rendered in game.
Yeah, wasted opportunity, because who doesn't want Mara Jade in full live action, right?
Yeah.
Like, oh my god.
But of course, the first game in that franchise is Dark Forces 1. That's where Kyle Katarn got introduced, and that's getting a remaster soon. So I'm very excited to see how that turns out. It's by Night Dive, I think, which has a really good track record lately.
Oh yeah, they're great.
And the first one is very much just a boomer shooter. It doesn't have
Doom with a Star Wars skin.
Yes. So it's good, but it's like you can skip it. Like, it's not essential to like to following the Jedi Knight story, in my opinion. You really just need Dark Forces 2, Outcasts, and Academy. But gameplay wise, yeah, that first Dark Forces game, like you said, Doom, Star Wars Doom. How can you go wrong?
The funny thing on Dark Forces is, so I got back in the day, like late 90s probably. I got this bundle from Costco. It was probably about this big and had 6 discs in it. And it had Rebel Assault 1, Rebel Assault 2, both discs. It had TIE Fighter, and it had a Dark Forces demo. And then it had like a behind the scenes making of the original trilogy. So I played the demo disc of Dark Forces a ton, and it just had the first 3 levels. So I didn't actually play through the full game of Dark Forces for like years later, but I played that demo. I played the crap out of that demo.
Man, you unlocked a memory for me. I remember those old 90s big box bundles of games. That was so cool.
There were tons of different ones that, for all these different types of games, and I got the Star Wars one. So I love that. And that's how I played TIE Fighter and the Rebel Assault games and Jedi Knight.
Do you still have that box by chance?
I don't know. I got all the games except, I don't have that behind the scenes disc anymore, or the Dark Forces demo disc, but I do have TIE Fighter and both Rebel Assaults and my Jedi Knight discs.
And I'm looking right now. I just want to see that box again to feel alive.
I remember what the box looks like, though.
Yeah. Oh my god. What's on the cover? Is it just like a little images of all the other games, like as covers? Or
if you got something that you want to share your screen, I'll pull it up.
I'm looking for it, and I can't find anything like what you described for some reason. So
if I saw it, I'd know it. I'd be like, "Yep, that was it."
Okay, I'm gonna make a note, and I'm gonna look for it.
All
and be
right.
Like, is it this? Is it this?
You look for that while Kay tells us about her most annoying video game character.
Oh my god. Well, it was mentioned in your chat last time already, but I just have to mention it. I hate Slippy Toad. The most annoying character in gaming history. I cannot stand Slippy Toad. Like, the most whiny, annoying character ever. Always gets in the way. We all know halfway through Star Fox 64, there's a level, if you're going on like the main path, where he's like, hey, go do this. I'm going to fly in and do this. And he flies towards an enemy and then gets whacked. And then you have to like change your path to save him, and he's out for a mission. I actually discovered recently, so I knew that you could like take an alternate path to never have that happen, and you just like go as normal with your crew. I learned recently that if you fight that enemy and you don't let him like get the meter to show you like what the health is, and you just spam and hit that enemy in the eyes as much as you can and then shoot at him, you can kill him while Slippy is flying towards him and prevent that from happening. So before he even finishes that dialogue, I'm now able to like end that and make sure it doesn't happen. But it's so annoying. He's so annoying. He adds nothing.
He's very useless. You're always having to save him. It's like, God, are you good for anything?
No.
What does he add to the story, though, besides being like, here's the health bar? Like, Peppy is like such an integral character because he goes with James McLeod. Like, that's a big deal.
He's my favorite.
right? Falco is like his brother. That's my favorite. Like he's pretty much like his brother in arms kind of thing, right? And
His
they go together.
cockiness is annoying though. It's like, get off your high horse.
I love it. I don't even care.
It's very Top Gun, like it's the Iceman
Yes.
Maverick thing.
I
That's what they're
never
going
thought
for.
about that before, but I know you mentioned that.
Yeah,
That's pretty.
Star
It's like a
Fox-
marriage of like Star Wars and Top Gun for me.
Yes.
I love Star Fox.
It's
for that
the
reason.
end of A New Hope with Top Gun. Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah.
Which is basically what we were hoping the Rogue Squadron movie was going to be, but that got canceled. But it wasn't going to turn out that way anyways because it was Patty
No.
Jenkins and
nothing Star Wars is good anymore.
No,
but yeah,
Slippy Toad.
Just in one of my test streams this week, I think was when you brought up Slippy Toad. It's like I would love to play through Star Fox 64 again, but I'd have to get an adapter because I don't have anything that my N64 can plug into to play.
Oh, and you don't have a Switch either because it's on the Switch too now.
If you don't have the 3DS version, is the best version in my opinion. It's so freaking good. The 3DS did all of these remakes of their older games, but Nintendo is like the only good company at doing remakes because they're like, we're going to change things, but it's actually usually when developers change something in the game, it's like, why'd you change this? But all the 3DS Nintendo remakes are like, oh my god, it's so much better now. And yeah, the Star Fox 64 3DS version is so freaking good with that dual screen. I loved dual screen gaming, and the 3DS killed it. That and the Ocarina.
The 3DS one is the prettiest, but honestly, being a bit older now, I recommend going back to the SNES version. The tone to play the SNES version versus the 64 version, 64 feels very like, it fits with that era where it's like a lot more fun, like Top Gun. I think that's a really good comparison. The SNES version feels like the stakes are really high because it's a lot quieter of a game. And when you like die, you die and it's like silence. And it's like, that's how it'd be in space, So it just feels a lot more dramatic. You don't have like your characters going, no,
The SNES version does have the best music, in my opinion. Yeah. It beats 64's music. So
yeah,
I'll have to get an adapter so I can hook my SNES and my N64 up to my TV and play through them again because it's been so long.
Yeah.
So to get to my most annoying, I don't know if it's my most annoying, but the first one that came to my mind, I think, was the inspiration for this question. Was I'm still not sure if it's Fi or Fee. But I think it's Fi because it's Fi. It's basically your Navi from from Skyward Sword.
Oh, and this is worse than that. I've never played Skyward Sword.
Worse than Navi's a big deal.
Is it worse?
Oh yeah, I think she's way worse than Navi. I don't have the. I guess the disdain would be a good word, not hatred, but disdain for Navi, because that was my first, Ocarina of Time was my first 3D Zelda. So I have the nostalgia for it. So I liked Navi, but I'd played Skyward Sword, I think it came out in like 2013. I probably played it in like 2015. So not that long ago, more of when I was an adult and not a kid. And oh my God, Fi is so annoying. So have you guys played Skyward Sword?
No. So like, no. I'm on a never-ending quest to try to find the Zelda game that makes me like Zelda. And Skyward Sword from an older friend of mine was actually, he was like, you know what? I think you're going to like Skyward Sword the best. I think that's going to be your Zelda game. And it was, I've always been interested in the Zelda like overarching timeline, which is kind of a mess, but it interests me, the different, tiers that happen, and like if you do this bad thing, this happens. So what interests me about Skyward Sword is it's the Phantom Menace of the Zelda franchise. Yeah, so that has always piqued my interest. So I really want to play Skyward Sword, and I really want to play Twilight Princess, and those are the two.
Twilight Princess is amazing.
You have to play Twilight Princess, yeah.
I think Twilight Princess is going to be my favorite because it's the dark, edgy, werewolfy one. But Skyward Sword interests me just on a prequel standpoint. But Nerdy Neo, did you like the game overall, and Fee was just making you want to like hate life? Or
well, it's good that you're on here because this will probably put it into perspective. I would rather play Wind Waker again than Skyward Sword.
There's nothing wrong. Like, why would you even say that?
Fight.
Why? Wind Waker is okay. I can't comment on Skyward Sword. I have a unique story with it, actually. The reason why I didn't play it.
Okay.
So, I bought Skyward, like I pre-ordered Skyward Sword, and I actually was getting it for launch day. And I got the special edition, so I got the gold Zelda
I have that one
controller with it
too.
as well. But what happened was I happened to get a surgery around that time, and that was the motion control one. So I was like, oh, I have this game that I can play while I'm like recovering, whatever. I couldn't play it because the Wii required motion controls for everything. So it was like the worst era of gaming for me to have that like happen. So that's actually why I never touched Skyward Sword, because in my head I'm always like, I wanted to play you on launch day and your stupid mechanics didn't let me. Like I've never touched it since. So I might play it on the Switch or something, but I've just always had this weird grudge against it.
I really want to play it on the Switch, no motion controls.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that they released a Skyward Sword HD on Switch with no motion controls. So
yeah, I'll probably play that version.
I know a lot of people had a problem with the motion controls. I actually like the motion controls because because in Twilight Princess, motion controls were basically, just like waggle your hand to swing your sword. Whereas and it didn't really matter, like there was no like 1-to-1. But in Twilight Princess, it's actually like 1-to-1. Like you can hold your sword out and in game it'll move like the way you're holding it. Whereas if you do that in Twilight Princess, he's just going to be standing his regular stance until you flick it and then he'll swing.
Yeah.
But in Twilight Princess, it's 1-to-1. It actually, if you didn't have one of the newer Wiimotes, you had to get the Wii Motion Plus thing that plugged into the bottom, which is one of the great things about the new Wiimote that came with it, is it had it built in, so you didn't have to do the attachment. And there were enemies that was actually part of where you had to have vertical or horizontal or diagonal slices.
Yeah.
Whereas you didn't have that in Twilight Princess. So a lot of people had a problem with the motion controls. I didn't. I liked the motion controls. But yeah, I was Fi was really annoying because she pops up all the freaking time to tell you stuff you already know or literally just heard from someone standing right next to you.
But Wind Waker doesn't have any of that. You don't have to worry about any of that. So it's better by that admission.
Fight.
And another thing she does all this, she's like, I calculate that there's a 87.9% chance of this happening. It's like, where does that come from? You just make up random numbers. But she's always interjecting. It's like, just shut up and let me play the game. This is not my first Zelda. I know what to do. So she's popping up all the time.
Do you think they wrote her with that intention though? Because like I feel like they didn't handhold as much in older games, and like nowadays games they really try to handhold you. So do you think they made the character more vocal than Navi for that reason?
I have a theory looking at her right now. Actually.
I think in the similar to the Wii U remake or remaster of Wind Waker, I think the Skyward Sword Switch version, I think they toned that down because that was a big complaint. So I don't quote me on that, but I believe that they made some improvements to it. So if that's true, and I had to pick between playing through Skyward Sword on Switch and Wind Waker on Wii U, that would be a good question. I would probably pick Wind Waker just because I need to give it another chance, because I only played through it once, and a lot of the stuff that was my issue with it was alleviated in the Wii U version. So
there's a huge list you can find online. It's like reading like a patch notes list of like a page. And it's like, yeah, we fixed this. Yeah, you had an issue with this. You had an issue with this. It makes everything easier in the Wii U version. Just having the tablet and being able to view the map that way is like night and day. It's like when you have the 3DS version of Ocarina of Time and you got the water temple, and now you don't have to worry about like going in the menu and doing the boots because there's an extra option to just have the boots equipped. It's like that feeling where you're like, okay, yeah, they fixed a lot of stuff where this completely changes the game and I can enjoy this part of the game now.
So
I had a question about Fee. So you said like there's a percentage thing. Does she straight up say like you have a percentage to win this attack or something like that?
She is in like tons of her dialogue. She just throws out random numbers. Like, I calculate this, and she just throws out literally like a random number. It literally has no impact on the game. It's like, I have no idea where these numbers come from. It literally it's like why would you put that in there when it has literally nothing? Like, you're just throwing out random numbers. They're completely arbitrary.
So I have a theory, and I'm just learning about this character for the first time, but I'm looking her up while I'm listening to you just hate her with no remorse. But she looks kind of like Cortana to me, and now she's saying percentages. So like, was she inspired by Cortana, and this was like AI? This was Nintendo's attempt to make like an AI
fantasy version of AI. It very much plays out like that. She's like the spirit that lives inside the Master Sword.
Okay.
And so she's always with you, and not really
Won't leave
guiding
you alone.
Yeah, it's not like guiding you. It's like telling you each and everything. It's like, just shut up and let me do what I want to do. And I think one of you might have been saying something similar in a game where it's like, it might have been either Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. And I don't know. So you correct me if it was not you, but somebody was saying something about like in one of those games, like I come into this room in the shrine. It's like, oh, I need to get there. Okay, I know thinking about it for a little bit, a few seconds or whatever. It's like, oh, I know exactly what the solution is to get there. But immediately the game's like, hey, here's how to do it. It's like, just shut up and let me figure it out myself. Was that you guys or was that someone else?
I was really dumb playing Breath of the Wild. I haven't played Tears. I've only played Breath of the Wild. I don't think that's super present in Breath of the Wild because there's a lot of those puzzles where I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm too stupid for this. Please help. So I think maybe was that someone else? I don't know. I have no memory. Kay, was that one of us?
I don't think it was us because I barely touched Breath of the Wild. I think it's a shitty game. So
yeah, I beat it and I was not happy throughout it. So
okay, if it wasn't you, probably my guess would be it was Nerdporeal Lifeform because he's not a fan of Breath of the Wild or Tears of the Kingdom. So it was probably him that was saying that when I had him on Party Chat a few episodes ago. But yeah, it's like, yes, I know the solution. Stop giving it to me after like 60 seconds. I just haven't had time to do the solution. It's like, so Fee Fi, whatever her name is in Skyward Sword, was very similar to that. And it's just like, just shut up and let me do it. So she was so annoying.
That's why the best companion is Darksiders 1, which their version of Navi is Mark Hamill, and you pretty much get Mark Hamill's Joker.
That's cool.
Not Samael.
I don't remember his name, but it was Mark Hamill doing the voice, and he sounds exactly like Joker. And so the equivalent of Navi and Darksiders is maybe my favorite game that is in that Zelda dungeon style. Like it plays like a Zelda game, but the combat's more God of War-y. I love that game. I still got to play the other ones. But yeah, so your Navi, quote unquote, is Mark Hamill just whispering in your ear, being like, "You should kill him. Don't forget."
The Watcher was his character's name.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, so, I played through that when it was new. And so it's been 10 plus years since I played it. So I bought the remaster and I've got 2 and 3. So I'm going to be playing through all 3 of them at some point, and they're part of my backlog. So
yeah, 2 has been in my backlog forever, and I hear it just blows the doors off Darksiders 1. So I really, Paul's saying Darksiders 2 is great. I gotta play it.
Which it's funny because the only person who I had heard talk about it back then anyways was my roommate, and he played 2 and he didn't like it as much as 1. So it's funny 10 years later hearing other people talk about it and everyone's like 2 is so much better. It's like, oh, cool.
I've heard like 9 out of 10 people like 2 better. So that's interesting.
Cool. I am looking forward to playing through it regardless. I did play through the Darksiders Genesis last year. I'll have to go back and look.
Is that the twin stick one you were mentioning?
It's the twin stick shooter, because it was leaving Game Pass, so I panic played that, and it took me a little while to get into it, but once I did, I enjoyed it. So what's up, Whiskey Jack? Shooters. Thanks for jumping in here and saying hi. So yeah, I love twin stick shooters as well. We need to find if there's a twin stick shooter that's like or basically the twin stick shooter equivalent of Shredder's Revenge, and do like a community event. If that even exists.
I would love to do Helldivers. Helldivers would be great. Have you played that game?
I've never even heard of that game.
Helldivers. It's actually getting a sequel that's not a twin stick shooter. It's going to be a third person shooter, but Helldivers 1 is a co-op twin stick shooter. It's the same makers of Magicka, if you ever played Magicka. And that was a co-op game that was known for you can really mess with your friends in it. And so if you're an asshole, you can kill your friends. There's total friendly fire on. But Helldivers is like Starship Troopers twin stick shooter 4-player co-op. And it's really, really fun. And I've actually never played through it because it's really designed for a co-op experience. And in that PlayStation, if you remember that PlayStation showcase where they showed all those games and Xbox did the we own you, the owning tweet of being like, oh, all these games are coming to the system too. So you showed off no exclusives except for Spider-Man. They didn't talk about Helldivers 2 because Helldivers 2 is actually going to be PC and PlayStation exclusive.
I just looked it up and I didn't find it on Xbox.
Yeah, sorry, I should have started with that. But yeah, so Helldivers 2 is PlayStation and PC only. So I thought it was really funny that everyone's like, "Oh, we got Spider-Man, though. We got Spider-Man." I'm like, I don't care about Spider-Man. I'm all in for Helldivers 2. That looks good. So we can play Helldivers 1, which is going to be twin stick. So I would love to do that.
Yeah, it'd be fun. Or if we could find one that I'll look for an Xbox equivalent.
Yeah, I gotta look into it. Maybe Helldivers 1's on Xbox.
I swear Helldivers 1 was on more platforms.
I just looked up Helldivers and I didn't find anything on True Achievements, and it has basically every game that has achievements. So
let's see.
Unless it was on original Xbox before achievements.
Oh, Helldivers. Yeah, Helldivers 1's the same. It's PlayStation and Windows exclusive, so it's on Steam and PS4. So I didn't know that. Oh man, it's good though. It's good.
Well, I need to get my newer PC up and running, and then that shouldn't be an issue. So, all right. Well, we're coming up here on an hour and a half, which is usually about how long Party Chat goes. But I'm happy to go longer if you want to go for another topic or two.
I'm good. Yeah, go ahead.
I'm game. Yeah, man. That's the thing is I can listen to myself speak forever.
Usually on our podcast, we spend like an hour and a half talking about what we're playing. So I was like, how are we going to fit in all these topics?
Yeah, I know.
And it's just two of us. So we just go back and forth. So.
You could have started the show and been like, and I would have been like, I have several hours.
Objection.
Yes.
Yeah. I was saying to you guys backstage, I usually put too many topics so that if we need to cut it down, we can and not get through them too quickly and be like, okay, now what do we talk about?
Yeah, there's some people that are like, it's this next question. So that's fair.
Yeah. I don't know. Maybe.
I have another one for annoying characters, but I think I'm going to hold off because it actually plays better into another topic I have for another Party Chat. So,
interesting.
Okay. So I think this is going to be a fun one. This is one that I kind of clarified before we went live. So, next topic here is if you could compete in a tournament in any game, regardless of if there's any way to actually make it a tournament game, something that's totally single player that has no competitive aspect, like what game would you have the best chance of winning? Essentially, what game would you say is that you are the best at? So I thought that'd be a fun topic to talk about. So, do you want to go first? Or you want me to go first?
I can go first because mine's kind of a basic answer. It's not as exciting, and you guys will be like, I don't know, I don't care, Japanese games, whatever.
True.
Well, I was originally gonna say Pac-Man 99 because I got obsessive into that, but that's not the answer I'm going with.
You can get crazy good at that game.
Oh,
I was never very good at Pac-Man, but I played it.
We did like an 8-hour stream of that or something, didn't we?
That was your birthday stream.
Yes,
yeah, we came home drunk from your birthday, and then I was like, "Oh God, drunk stream? Are we really doing this?" And I just sat and watched you play Pac-Man 99 for hours.
But I would do like a Fire Emblem tournament, which is not really. It could be possible because you have like different rankings in the game. So like your tactician gets ranked on like how are you doing for like your rations, how are you doing in your battles, like how many people are alive, stuff like that. So having some kind of contest like that, because right now in that game you can do like I'm talking about Fire Emblem 7 specifically because I care about the Game Boy ones, but. Okay. There's like a section where you can like build up your team from the story and then you can go and fight in an arena and see how well they do. And it's like that game is very like RNG, so it'd be hard to make like a proper tournament out of it because it's luck. Like, okay, yeah, you built a good build, but who knows? You could have 1% chance of hitting something and still like end up doing it and then killing someone. So
or the flip side, you could have 99% chance and still
miss. Exactly. So it would be very chaotic. It would almost be like gambling to some degree. But I would be interested to see if there's a way of like doing a tournament around that. Not like a speed run, like who would get through it the fastest, more just like the quality of your run. Like how well have you polished your run and made sure your team does well in battles and like utilize it so you've done the fights in like the least amount of time and you've like utilized your weapons well where you don't break them and stuff like that. There's a lot of elements to that game I think could be a cool tournament, and I obsess over that game. It's to the point where like I can just like pretty much close my eyes and move around at this point. So that would be.
You're like Luke in A New Hope. You have the shield on, and you use the Force K to play Fire Emblem.
So it sounds like it has a very strong strategy element to it as well. So it'd almost be more of like a chess sort of thing than being like really good like at a Twitch shooter.
Exactly. It's a chess game pretty much. It's like a chess military type game. So definitely that would be like the game. And yeah, like I said, it's to the point where like some chapters I already know, like I can predict if it's on normal mode, hard mode, or like the super hard mode, where the characters are going to move based on where I move my characters. Like I know where to bait them or like what steps they'll take. So I think I would have a lot of fun with that.
Cool. It looks like James is about to jump in there with something.
Well, I just got the error, the disconnecting error. Am I still here?
Yes.
Yeah,
You know what's weird is it's like I hear everything totally fine, and when it was disconnecting earlier, everything was totally fine. It's just like maybe my browser, because it's browser based, just hates Restream. I don't know what's going on, but anyway, that's why I had
we got you. We're good. We're good.
That very animated reaction. I can't play poker because I'm very animated, so I didn't want to interrupt the show, but that was a very genuine like what? Anyway, so.
I'm trying to look something up here, but every time I go to look something up, I get this stupid. I'm just doing a Google search and I get this stupid caption. It makes me click the buttons that have a bus in them. It's like, just do a freaking Google search.
So both of us are fighting our computers today. Perfect.
So, James, do you want to go next?
Yeah, okay. So like I said, I think at the start of the show, I wrote out all my answers last night listening to your great show you did yesterday while I was drunk, and I didn't understand the question because I thought it was asking me which tournaments did I compete in, because I have played in multiple tournaments. So I can talk about those or we can save them, but I've played in about 3 or 4 gaming tournaments, but I did come up with 2 answers for games that I would do a tournament in. And right off the top of my head, because I'm like, okay, what's a game tournament that would never happen? And you literally just saying a single player game also made me think of one, because then I was thinking like, okay, well, it's got to be competitive. It's got to be against people. So a competitive game that I would do against people that has never been in a tournament, but I would do is Simpsons Wrestling on the PS1, because I could win, because I have the secret. I have the secret, folks. So Simpsons Wrestling on PS1 was a marriage of my 2 favorite things when I was a kid. I'm a huge wrestling fan and a huge Simpsons fan. And it's them combined. It's considered a bad game, but I think it's actually pretty good. It's not so much a wrestling game. It's more of a fighting game. So it could actually work in a tournament. But here's the thing. It's the most unbalanced fighting game you have ever played in your life. So as long as I play as Ned Flanders, Neddy boy, I've got God in my corner. That's right. Ned Flanders in that game plays exactly like Vince McMahon in the storyline where he fought God, except God is on Ned's team. So here's the thing. You pretty much hit the opponent's health until it's down, and then you pin them, and it goes 1, 2, 3, and you win. But Ned Flanders' ability, because every character is themed, so Barney like will drink and throw his empty beer at you. Apu throws squishies at you. I think Mr. Burns throws money. Ned literally summons lightning, and it will hit you no matter where you are, because he has God on his side. And also, here's why it seals the deal. Even if you can pin me as Ned, which is super hard to do, before the 3 count, God summons Ned up back to his feet and fills his health. And then if you try to do it again, God summons Ned up to his feet. And you need to like pin Ned, I think 4 or 5 times. And he's not even the boss, and he's not the final boss or anything. I think the final boss was Kang and Kodos, if I remember. He's not the final boss. He's considered just a character. This isn't like playing Shao Kahn in a tournament. This is just playing Ned Flanders with God. So that would be one of my game tournaments is Ned Flanders. I would win all the prize money as Neddy boy in Simpsons Wrestling. But then you said single player, and I'm like, ooh, a single player tournament that I could win at. And I liked how Kay was saying Fire Emblem. So here's my answer for that.
Okay.
Animal Crossing. And you know what I would do?
Interesting.
Who can piss off the most villagers? Because it's me. It's me. I love Animal Crossing, and I love abusing those little jerks and abusing them. So we need to have like a measurement to be like, okay, here's your villagers. You have 12 villagers, Freddy, Teddy, Ned, and Billy. And whoever you upset first or something. And so I would just run around, doop-de-doop-de-doo, like digging up holes, ruining their day, doing all this stuff. So that's my single player one, is I would be the best in an Animal Crossing tournament where it would be who can make all their villagers just miserable and want to leave. There actually is. There is a mechanic where they leave, they move out, and they're all sad and solemn about it. So it's like who can make all their villagers move out. That would be me.
That's funny because you put like hundreds of hours in Animal Crossing, right?
Yes, that was my Rona game. That would actually be a good topic. Is like, what is everyone's Rona game that you got addicted to while you couldn't do anything else but game? And Animal Crossing on Switch was the game that came out like right when everything locked down, and so it was crazy. Nintendo made so much money because it came out at the exact perfect time, and everyone was indoors playing Animal Crossing and Doom. And
I was gonna say there are two others that came out, and those were both mine. Doom Eternal and Ori the Will of the Wisp came out like either on the same day or a day apart, and they're both chef's kiss. They are in my top tier echelon of games of all time.
Yeah, and I love the memes of Isabelle with Doom Guy, and that was gold. So I was actually, I put hundreds of hours while I couldn't do anything else with my life in Animal Crossing on Switch. So I could definitely make all those villagers hate me, because they already do.
That is funny. So I have two answers as well, and one of them sort of got mentioned in chat here already. My favorite franchise of all time and my favorite game of all time, Mass Effect 3. Mass Effect 3 you could do because it already has the co-op multiplayer, so you could pretty easily and there's scoring involved in it, so it'd be pretty easy to compete, and I played a lot of it, so I could do pretty good at that. But or Mass Effect 2, yeah, like Whiskey Jack said, especially with like your team and keeping them all alive and stuff. But as long as you know the right choices, it'd be pretty easy, at least at the end of the game when you do the suicide mission. If you know all the right choices, it's pretty easy to keep them all alive. But yes, Mass Effect was one of my answers because I've spent, other than Destiny, I've spent more time in the Mass Effect franchise than any other franchise. So I'd have a good shot at that.
Can you still play Mass Effect 3's multiplayer? Like, is that?
Yep, I play it all the time. And I think we just lost James again.
No way. Yeah, we lost James again. I could hear him going, no way.
I could hear him through your mic. He hears us, but we can only hear him down the hall through Kay's mic.
Yeah, exactly.
That's funny. But yes, Mass Effect 3 you can still play. It is not dedicated servers. It's peer-to-peer. So it should be playable forever. I still play it. I haven't played it in a few weeks, but I do regularly play it still a couple times a month with my best bud IRL. You can't play split screen, so we play over Xbox Live, but yes, I still play it quite regularly. So if there's anyone out there who plays Mass Effect 3 on Xbox and wants to play the multiplayer, just let me know. I'm happy to play it. I love it. I play it all the time, and that's my second most played game of all time behind Destiny.
Is that why you love Mass Effect 3 so much? Partially because of the multiplayer as well?
I mean, Mass Effect was already my favorite franchise before Mass Effect 3 came out, but that was like the cherry on top. The biggest insult was when they re-released the Legendary Edition and they didn't include the multiplayer. It's just the single player.
I was surprised.
And he's back.
This makes no sense. No sense at all. I literally, like, I'm in there totally fine. Everything's totally fine. And then suddenly Chrome's like, nah, you can't connect. So I'm trying Edge now. We're Team Microsoft. Whatever. Maybe Edge will be magically better. But yeah, it literally makes
it made you like 480p though. I don't know if that's just on my
you're kind of blurry. What? I see it blurry as well.
Which I think is the default for Restream, by the way.
I see you fine, but yeah, your resolution's kind of low.
Oh yeah, it's Restream.
Because 720 is like what Restream goes up to, but default it was like, do you want 480p? Is like, no.
It took me a couple streams to figure that out as well. But yeah, so I love Mass Effect's amazing story. I love the gameplay. The co-op multiplayer in Mass Effect 3 is a blast. And it's always got a good carrot at the end of the stick. The only thing that's super annoying is that the highest rarity is the ultra rares. So the lower rarity is you're guaranteed. So like if you get all of the common items, then you'll only get uncommon. And once you get all the uncommons, you'll only get rare. But once you have all the rare items, you're not guaranteed to get ultra rares. So even though I've been playing it for, let's see here, it was 11 years, I still don't have all of my ultra rares maxed out. Because each item goes up to level 10, so you can unlock it 10 times and it gets better. So you only get like an ultra rare like every between like 10 and 20 purchases, which it was in the beginning of like microtransactions. So you could buy it with one of the things that I mentioned in your chat on your on the Xbox
Oh yeah,
town
with the
hall,
currencies. Yeah.
I forgot to bring it up while I was on the stream, but I put it in the comments afterward, because you could buy the currency with Microsoft points, if you remember that, or you could use it with in-game currency. So you're not forced to. It's not like pay. I mean, you could pay real money to get the stuff faster, but you're still not even guaranteed to get ultra rare. So I've never spent a cent on the microtransactions in Mass Effect 3. I've only ever used in-game currency. But you buy packs and you're not guaranteed ultra rares even when you have all your other stuff maxed out. So there's still plenty of ultra rares I don't have maxed out. But I just love playing the co-op, and I talk about just the co-op alone for a long time. But I love the story and the campaign of all the Mass Effects. Just obviously the Mass Effect 3 ending is a huge disappointment.
I have a burning question for you now. I know this is slightly off topic, but the Mass Effect issue always bothers me when we talk about it. There's two things we have an issue with: the achievements and the Mass Effect issue. Before Mass
Zelda.
Effect, I can let the Wind Waker thing slide a little bit, but the Mass Effect thing bugs me. Mass Effect 2. Was that your favorite Mass Effect before 3 came out?
No, I actually liked Mass Effect 1 more than Mass Effect 2 for a long time.
What?
It's got better music.
I've since switched on that. I do like 2 more than 1 now, but for a long time I liked 1 better.
And 1's got Ashley, the best girl. So there's that.
Well, much more of her, because she can actually be your
she fights you, and it's like, Ashley, baby, what's going on? Why do you not like me? You should be on the team of the elusive man. The elusive man's the best.
My brain is always trying to calculate, like, what changed for you that Mass Effect 3 was just like the best game ever to you out of that series.
Because Mass Effect 2 alleviated a lot of the issues that I had with Mass Effect 1, but it created new ones. And then Mass Effect 3 remedied basically both of my issues with Mass Effect 1 and Mass Effect 2.
Is it the gameplay?
And not like the combat.
Just like the systems of how the game works. The combat is better because, like in Mass Effect 1, you can't use your essentially your force powers, your biotic powers, unless you have line of sight. I know they do it in Mass Effect 3, but I don't remember whether they introduced Mass Effect 2 or not, because it's been so long since I've actually played through Mass Effect 2. But in either 2 or 3, they add the ability to basically pull wanted, and you can curve powers around corners and stuff, so you can hit people even when they're in cover. You couldn't do that in Mass Effect 1. It was basically all line of sight.
I always played soldier, so I don't know.
Yeah, I never actually used any of that stuff.
My favorite characters were always the biotic power users. So my first playthrough in Mass Effect 1 and 2 was the Adept, which is the primary, because there's 6 classes, and there's basically there's the 3 classes that are focused on each of the branches. So there's the Adept, which is basically the sole biotic user. There's the engineer that's just uses like tech powers. And then there's the soldier, which just uses the gun powers. Then there's a hybrid of each one of those. So like the Vanguard is the hybrid of the soldier and the biotic. That has since become my favorite class. But then there's the Sentinel, which is the biotic tech user.
I was always curious about that one. Yeah.
Then there's the Infiltrator, which is the tech soldier. So there's like the 3 hybrid classes too. And they made those better in each game as well. So
yeah, I always played soldier. So
soldier is the best one in Mass Effect 2 for getting through insanity. I tried playing through insanity on Mass Effect 2 with a couple of different classes, and I just couldn't do it. But on soldier, the key thing that makes Mass Effect 2 on insanity a lot easier with soldier is you have all the different ammo powers, and certain ammos shred through different types, because you got your health, there's shields, there's barriers, I want to say that's all, but there's like different characters will have different number of bars of health, so you might have to go through their armor first, and then their barriers, and then their health. And some of those are super strong against certain ammo types. So like the Inferno ammo is great against armor, but it's not very good against shields. So you'd want to switch to a different type of ammo, and only the soldier has all the ammo types. So when you're playing through Insanity on characters that don't have all of them, you may get through their armor really easily, but then it takes forever to get through their health or whatever.
Right. Yeah. From a gameplay standpoint, I can totally understand thinking Mass Effect 3, or it being your favorite, or thinking it's the best or something. The weird thing for me in Mass Effect is it's one of those games where it's more about the story first and the characters and the interaction. It reminds me of like how I play KOTOR. KOTOR is in my top 3 games of all time, and I don't really like the gameplay. The gameplay is not for me, but I play it for
that gameplay is beautiful. Don't insult that gameplay.
Go play Jedi Academy. But if I always say it's
that's
like
why Jedi Outcast and Academy are in my book way above KOTOR. KOTOR, amazing story.
So yeah,
the gameplay is not.
I think
that
the
great.
gameplay just supersedes for you, because like for me, my ideal game would be like, can I have the story and atmosphere and characters and all that and decision making of KOTOR, but can the gameplay be swapped into Academy? Because the Academy gameplay is just so
amazing.
Yeah, so good. So I think I think for you the priority is just different. I think that's valid. For me, when I'm playing Mass Effect, I'm all about the characters and the story and being this whole sci-fi spectacle. I actually play Soldier just because I'm like, give me somewhat enjoyable gameplay. I just want to shoot guns. Let me just shoot some fuckers. So that's why I do that. But I never think about gameplay associated with Mass Effect. My gameplay in that game is like, what are the decisions I'm going to make? How am I going to level up? Who am I going to take? But kind of, it's like that.
More the RPG elements.
Yeah. So, but 3 probably has the best gameplay. Probably.
Yeah, so Mass Effect, like all 3 of the games have great story and stuff.
Yeah.
So that it's had that the whole time, but the gameplay, it has gotten better through the 3 games as well.
Yeah, I think I would agree that like the actual gameplay in Mass Effect 3 is the best. It feels good to do combat, but
arguably the combat in Andromeda is the best.
Yeah, I've actually heard that. And that's like, people defend Andromeda to me because they're like, it's the most fun one to play. And I'm like, the characters are so insufferable. Like, if I have the option, you know what? Let's go back to most annoying character. I can't even play Andromeda because I find all those characters just so annoying. All of them.
The whole crew.
Yeah, including yourself. I can't tolerate that game. That one Asari girl that has PB, I hate you. I just want to strangle you. If I can.
Hey, most annoying characters. There you go.
If I can kill her, I will play Andromeda, and I don't think you can.
I've asked you believe so, but I don't remember.
Yeah, so I can't, and so, but I've heard Andromeda has really solid gameplay. I can't even get to it. I've launched the game and I'm walking around with my crew and I'm just like, I can't deal with this. I can't. I'd have to play the game on mute.
So to get to my other one that I'm proud of, more proud of, because this did have leaderboards and stuff, and I was at the very high, close to the top of them for a very long time. Are you familiar with the game N+?
How do you? Oh, I've
heard of it, but I've never played it.
Yeah.
So it was originally just called N, and it was a Flash game. And then the sequel was N+, and they brought it to Xbox 360. It was an Xbox Live Arcade game, and I played the heck out of it because I loved N. And N was like twice as long and way harder than N+. So when N+ came out, I was like a god because it was so much easier than the original one. But people who hadn't played N before thought N+ was like super hard, because there is one level because there's I'm pretty sure the original N had like 500 levels, and N+ I think had only 250. But like the end of like level 15, I want to say, it had like this difficulty spike. So I remember when it came out, everyone was complaining about this mission. I think it was this level. I think it was called like Missile Command or Missile, something like that. But it was great because it was tricky to beat, but I didn't really have that much trouble with it. But it was funny. Everyone who had never played it, the original and was playing N+ for the first time, was complaining about the difficulty of this level that's pretty early on in the game. But so it's just I'm gonna pull up some gameplay of it so you can see it, because it's I'm looking at it. Potato. It's so lo-fi.
Yeah, simple but satisfying type game for sure. I've only ever seen the name. I've never actually played it. Looks like it was also on the DS at some point. Like,
yes, I have the DS version.
Yeah.
So, oh, that's loud. Mute. All right. I'm going to go here and share screen and this one. So I'm going to pull this up just so you can see it. So it's you're a little ninja, and it's just a platformer, and you collect gold, and you have to get to the button that opens the door in each level and then get to the door without dying. But this is like the first level in the game. So the only thing you have to worry about here is like falling to your death. But once you get later in the game, these levels get nuts, and you got hundreds of different things that are all shooting at you. You got all these machine guns and missiles and lasers, and you're running for your life. So that's the button that you got to hit in each level and then get back to the door. So it's just a super basic platformer, but I loved it, and I played the heck out of this game. And before, when it was still new, I was in the top 50 on the leaderboard globally. And how it ranks it is each one of the, so you start out because you select like a block on the menu screen, and each block represents 5 levels. And you start out, I think, with 90 seconds. If you hit 0, you die. That doesn't happen that often, but each piece of gold you pick up increases your time by, I think, like 3 seconds. So you want to get through the level as fast as possible and get as much gold as possible, so you end up with the most time at the end of the 5 levels. And that's how all the leaderboards work. So whoever had the most time in all the levels put together, added together, that's the global leaderboard. So I was in the top 50 of that leaderboard for a long time until people figured out how to glitch it, and they broke the leaderboard. So now when you go to the leaderboards, everyone at the top is just an infinite number of 9s because they have infinite time. But before that, I was top tier. So I think that was the game that inspired this question, because I'd probably be rusty because it's been a long time since I played it, but I could go back to it and get back into it and compete in it, and I think I'd do pretty good.
It looks addictive. I feel like I would want to play that game.
Yeah, you can go back and you can still get the original N, a Flash game, on computer, for free if you wanted to test it out. It is much more difficult than N+, though. Let me see if I can find that level I was talking about. Missile. It was like, no. Maybe I'll stream it one time. And
you should. Yeah, no, I want to see it. It's weird. I haven't heard of anything about it until now, apart from the name. But it feels like it would be like a GDQ bait. Don't you think? Like, it feels like speedrunning that would totally be a thing, and just zipping through all those levels as fast as possible. So I could even see you, like, I mean, if you get that good, I could see you doing something like that. And you could do like a glitch run and a no glitch run, since everyone broke the game. I could totally see it being in that category.
I don't even know what they did to break the leaderboards. I bet they did some stuff that's like against like terms of service, would be my guess. So, but yeah, it'd be nice if they cleared the leaderboard of all the cheaters. I'd probably still be up there. I don't know if I'd be top 50, but I'd be pretty close to the top still. So, but yeah, those would be the games that I would compete in if there was a way to compete. And I think I'd do a pretty good, have a good chance of doing pretty well. So, I put 3 other questions on here. I don't think we'll go through all 3 of them, but I do want to touch on this one, because what you were talking about earlier about Ned Flanders in the Simpsons wrestling game really makes me want to talk about this next one. So I think this will be, as long as you got like another 30 minutes or so.
Oh,
yeah, whatever you want, man. Yep.
Okay. I'm yay.
We can go through all of them if you want. Like, it's totally your call, whatever you feel like doing.
I can keep going as long as you let me go to the bathroom. You have the key to this chain to my desk, so as long as you unlock me to go to the bathroom, and as long as my internet doesn't keep screwing with me, which doesn't make any sense because Kay's on the same internet, then I'm good.
And I'm on Wi-Fi and you're on wired.
Is that the difference?
That's funny.
Like,
that makes no sense.
The modem is right next to me. You're in Wi-Fi between several walls, and the modem's right here, wired connection. Like,
Mac baby, let's go.
Yeah, Mac gang, I guess.
Oh, okay, are you on a Mac?
Yeah, we have a few computers in the house, but I just find the Mac so convenient because just pop it open. It's got the camera in there. Hook in the AirPods.
I'm on the Alienware.
That is really funny.
I literally do it for the AirPods, though. It's so much more convenient. Okay. You can't even tell I'm wearing anything.
Yeah, almost.
Steve Jobs.
Yeah, it's like, last night when I had Angry Canadian on, I was like, I could go for another hour. You up for it? He's like, yeah, let's do it. So we went almost 3 hours. That was the longest stream I've ever done. So, when people are like, "Yeah, let's keep going." I'm like, "Yes,
I'm good for whatever flow you want to do. If you want to, save stuff, that's fine. But if you want to keep going, we're here.
Okay. Yeah, I want to respect people's time if they got stuff going
fair.
on. So, okay. So I think this will be the last one though. But so last question we'll talk about here today is what is the cheapest boss you've ever fought?
Oh my God. I was hoping you'd bring this one up. Oh, this one boss. Okay. So this one boss, let me lay this out for you. Okay. This was years ago. I had to fight this boss and he was such a prick, he was a real jerk. And like, no matter what you would do, you couldn't beat him and you would just constantly throw yourself at him. And yeah, it's an older title, and it's an older title many titles ago for me. I can't remember what the title was called, but yeah, older title, cheapest boss in the game.
Don't even remember the game.
He was so cheap, right? And all I wanted was a raise. I begged him for a raise, and he was so cheap he wouldn't give it to me. So I beat the shit out of him, and I ended up getting arrested. So that is the cheapest boss I ever fought personally.
I knew you were going somewhere with that.
Yeah. He was a jerk and such a cheap boss. Give me a raise.
All right, Kay, do you have a real answer?
Yes. I had to think about this one a little bit. I don't know if this is necessarily a cheapest boss or maybe just the game itself being broken. But one that always sticks in my mind is Mad Jack from Donkey Kong 64. So there's like this.
I don't even remember that character.
It's like, I think it's the third or fourth boss in the game. Like, you don't have to beat him in a linear fashion. I think you can beat him on the fourth as well. He's a Jack-in-the-Box character. And the whole thing is, he's a super cool boss. So I actually like him a lot too. But he literally pops out and he jumps with his box on different platforms. And you're on these platforms and you have to jump around and dodge him. And then he'll like stop and he'll shoot fireballs at you and all this kind of stuff. At one point, he turns invisible. And so you're like dealing with all this while he's also invisible. But the thing is, in Donkey Kong 64, that camera sucks. I had to cheese that fight so hard. It was like one of the most difficult fights I've ever done in my life. Just because you're like, you're fighting the mechanics of platforming and then you're trying to get all that done. And then you're like, okay, I have to turn the camera and all this stuff. Well, I looked it up recently as well, and people just move the camera like up. So they just make it so that you can see everything and it's like flat. And I'm like, why didn't I think of that when I was younger?
His design is so freaking cool.
Easier.
And I'm surprised because I haven't played Donkey Kong 64, but like I'm looking at photos of him right now, and like this is one of the coolest designs I've ever seen.
Probably my favorite Donkey Kong design besides King K. Rool, like for villains.
It's just surprising that like just in kind of being in the video game sphere, I've never seen this character. This is the first time
I don't even remember. I played through Donkey Kong 64 and I don't even remember this character.
I don't remember if he's optional. I just remember that like it's one of those characters that you don't have to encounter until way deeper into the game. So some people didn't even like beat Donkey Kong 64. They might have never touched him, right? But I remember that fight. It was super cool. Like, I highly recommend somebody looking up footage of it if they're curious about it, or play Donkey Kong 64. I like that game.
I want it on the Switch. I want it on the Switch Virtual Console. I would love it.
We have it on the 64.
I want to play it on my Switch. I like my Switch.
Listen, the Virtual Console for the Switch and the 64 is terrible. If you're going to play a 64 game, please just play the 64 games on their original intent. It's not good unless you have an N64 controller. Anyways, that is my answer. I do have one.
I have the Donkey Kong 64 N64 controller where it's yellow and the tips are brown, so it looks like bananas.
That's cool. That's cool. Yeah.
Give it to me, Nintendo. Give it to me. I want it here. Even though it controls like shit, I want it here.
You have to have the N64 controller on the Switch for it to feel good because they didn't map it properly, so you can convert it to other controllers. Anyways.
So you got a runner-up as well?
I do have a runner-up. It's slightly cop-out answer, but there's I'm a huge fan of Maximum Carnage on the Sega Genesis, so it's like a beat-em-up game that's in the Spider-Man universe.
But I don't know
it's so good, but so hard.
The Carnage game.
Yes, it's the Carnage game. The one good LJN game that exists.
Yes. It's not shit. Carnage. It's not shit. Yeah, it is.
Exactly. Yeah, but there's quite a few of those bosses absorb a lot. It's like pretty difficult to play through that game. But there's one in particular. I think his name is Lyndon. I'm trying to remember. I think it's Lyndon, and he like belly flops around, and he's a fat guy, and he just slams down on you. But on top of that, he also sends waves of enemies at you. It took me so long to beat that because every time you hit him, he's like a sponge as well. Like he does not like take hits. He just pretty much like you're barely chipping away at him.
It.
Yeah, and I think that's like it's partially an arcade thing that would happen in a lot of those kinds of games too, right? They want to absorb your quarters. So I think that game was formatted in that way, even though I never played it in the arcade, and I don't even think it had an arcade release. I think it was just Genesis. It had that feel like how the X-Men, all those games have it, where it's like you're meant to like put in quarters over and over again.
That makes sense.
So yeah, that boss was near impossible. It took me a lot of playthroughs. I remember rage quitting. I think I threw a Sega Genesis controller at one point. It was insane, but he absorbed it, and then he would just jump on you, and it's like, stop. cheap.
Okay, so I've got 2 answers as well, so I'll do one, and then James, do you have a real answer for this question?
I can talk about difficult boss. There was this one boss who wouldn't give me a vacation. So I fought him.
So
I can't get a job anymore.
The first one, I'm gonna say this. The second one was the inspiration for the question, and reminded me that I even put this on here when you were talking about Ned Flanders. But I'm gonna talk about that one second. First one I'm going to talk about is from one I mentioned it earlier in the stream. I think from Ninja Gaiden Black, one of my favorite games of all time. I mean, that game was very difficult, even on normal. A lot of people had trouble with just getting through the first boss of the game, the first level. He was very difficult. But there was a difficulty spike in about the middle of the game when they introduced Alma. She was very difficult. But then at near the end of the game, because I want to say that there's 16 chapters, and Alma first got introduced, and I think in like chapter 5. And then she takes like a second form and is awakened Alma, and you fight her as the boss. And I think like chapter 11, probably one of the hardest and cheapest bosses in like any game ever, because you only get the tiniest fraction of seconds to attack her. And then she's basically invulnerable until she does this one attack, and you have to be right on the money. And even when you do the attack that knocks her out of the air because she flies, and get her on the ground to do attacks, you only have it's basically RNG on whether the hit connects or whether it just goes right through and does nothing, or she dodges it. So it's very frustrating because you can be playing perfect, and the only time you can actually do damage is when you get her onto the ground. And the attack that you can do to get her on the ground, it's almost like a dice roll of whether it's actually going to do what it's supposed to do. And you only get a tiny fraction to do it. And then you have to wait until she goes through her attack cycle again. In the meantime, she's throwing crazy amount of attacks at you. So just staying alive long enough to get to that point is really difficult.
Yeah, I'm looking at it right now, and because I've never played Ninja Gaiden Black. I think I played the demo again on the official Xbox magazine demo disc, but I can see why she's difficult as well, because she's also very distracting, if I gotta say so myself. So she's a very distracting lady to look at. Nice lady. So on top of that, yeah, hard as balls as well. So I can understand your pain. Good Lord.
Let me Black. Hold on, I'll show you the first one here.
Not safe for work, not safe for work, not safe for work, not safe for just looking at all the images, it's just like, yeah.
I'll show you the in-game. I think it should be okay.
I love that the in-game is even questionable.
Yeah.
So this is the first Alma fight. This is what the part that I was talking about is a very was like the difficulty spike, because she was far more difficult than the other bosses. And this is on normal. When you play it on higher difficulty, there's other enemies running around the level too that are attacking you at the same time.
Oh my god.
So when you increase the difficulty, when you're in the boss fights, so like on normal, it's just you and the boss. On hard, there's low level enemies also fighting you, and then each level you go up, the enemies that you're fighting along with the boss get stronger and stronger as well. So that is the first one. Let me see if I can get Awakened. Come on, move, cursor.
I've always wanted to play this game, but it's one of those games that terrifies me because it's known for being hard. But I love how it plays, and I love its look and everything.
I honestly think it'd be up your alley.
Yeah, I love Bayonetta, so I do love these kind of games.
Go into the fight already.
You see why she's so distracting?
So yeah, this is Awakened Alma, and it's even harder. So, like I said, this is on normal, so you're not fighting anything but the boss. But when you're fighting the higher difficulties, you got other enemies that you're fighting at the same time. And so you have to do this like running dive attack. It's called the Flying Swallow to get her, to knock her out of the air, to get her on the ground. And you only have like two, maybe 3 seconds to attack her when she's on the ground before she gets back up. So this whole, that attack right there does like 60% of your health. That at least when that was like 40% on normal, but still that's a lot.
Good.
You've made something click in my brain.
That attack right there.
This is
right there.
Ooh.
Was so yeah, that he just did the running attack right.
Give her the Flying Swallow, Ninja Gaiden.
I went back a little too far. But right
Did you
here,
call him Ninja Gaiden?
Yeah, what's his name?
His name is
Ryu, isn't it?
Right
Ryu.
there. That's the attack that you do, this like diving through the air attack, and you knock her out of the air. Then you have a few seconds to hit her and do a damage, and then you got to recycle again.
Brutal.
So it's very difficult. That's on normal. But on, you know, it gets nuts the higher the difficulties go. But to answer your question, Ryu Hayabusa is the main character of Ninja Gaiden.
But this is the thing that Nerdy Neo unlocked for me just now. I'm a big Dead or Alive fan, and Ryu is in like a Dead or Alive game that I play that I love.
Yeah.
Yes, because it's all the same universe.
That arena that you're fighting that boss in is actually in Dead or Alive, I'm pretty sure, or at least it's inspired by that level. So that's super cool because I never made that connection until now. That's cool.
Yeah, I played a little bit of Dead. Like I said, I'm not into fighting games, but I played a little bit of Dead or Alive 3 in college because my roommate had it, and Ryu was my main.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure there's like a final boss area in that game where it like looks very similar to that, and there's like fire coming up, but it's got like that stone structure. So it's like, I know he's in the game, but I didn't even realize that they were inspired by an actual like Ninja Gaiden. Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, because it's all Team Ninja, and basically, I'm pretty sure all the Dead or all of their games, at least like the DOA volleyball, the DOA games, and Ninja Gaiden all take place in the same universe.
Yeah.
Whiskey Jack says the cheapest is, I think it's Cthulhu in OG World of Warcraft. Getting 4 people together for a raid is outrageous stupid. Did you ever fight that?
Yeah, James? You know what's weird is I played WoW for so long, but what was so amazing about WoW is it was really a world of Warcraft, and you could really do whatever you wanted. Ideally, for most people, the goal was to do the 40-man raids, and I did some of them sometimes, like when I was in a guild and stuff, but the raids were never too much for me. For me in WoW, I really liked just getting immersed in a character and grinding and leveling them up like an RPG and doing the quest lines that I liked. So I didn't fight that specific boss, but I know about that boss a little bit and how bull they were. But yeah, all the 40-man raid bosses, they were uniquely dumb because it's like you needed to get literally 40 people coordinated for a super hard boss fight in World of Warcraft, and you had to learn all the mechanics, and you had a specific job you had to do. And if literally one person didn't do the right thing in a 40-man raid boss fight, then everyone would wipe, and then you'd have to spend
Leroy.
Yes,
Jenkins.
at least I have chicken, exactly. So then everyone would have to resurrect and heal and repair their armor, and it was so painful. And I look, you know me, I like to mess around, I like to get silly, and so anytime I would try to do one of those serious, intense 40-man raids, it was just like, okay, everyone has a job to do, and they got to do this, and you got to stat, but you got to da-da-da-da, and everyone had to only talk, and there was all these things, and I would just be making jokes and trying to mess with everybody, and then I'd get kicked from the guild.
You were Leroy Jenkins.
I was Leroy. I was very much a Leroy Jenkins. At least I had chicken. But yeah.
So do you have a real answer?
All right, so this one boss wouldn't give me time. So
my
let's see.
goodness.
I've got I've got a bunch. One that popped into my mind while I was thinking about my former bosses that wouldn't give me a raise was a game I played recently, Twisted Metal 4, and Sweet Tooth is the final boss in that game. And what's funny is like even people that speed run that game or play it properly or whatever, it's like Sweet Tooth is so broken in Twisted Metal 4, and a lot of people don't like that game. It's my favorite Twisted Metal, but there's like only one way to beat him.
Shocking.
Sorry?
Shocking.
I know.
The one that everyone hates is the one
That's
that you
the one
love.
I love. It's got Rob Zombie. It's like a mad carnival. It's great. But yeah, the only way to beat Sweet Tooth is not fun in that game, because like when you play Twisted Metal, you want to go boom, 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 shot for shot and shoot missiles back and forth. But the only way to beat him, because if you go head to head with Sweet Tooth, you're gonna lose. He's just broken. So you have to just set out trip mines and kite him, kind of like a WoW boss, actually. You have to kite him through the level and take his stupid AI like through it and just be like, walk into my mine, boom, okay. And you have to do that for like 40 minutes, because if you actually try to play the game normally, it just won't work. But the another one that I'd set up that makes me more angry than my boss that wouldn't give me a raise is every boss in Lords of Shadow, one of my most hated games ever. Every single one from the opening boss to the end. And you know why? Because they all have this dumb mechanic at it where you can do perfect against the boss. You can be perfect against the boss and kill them. But then that's not it. Every single boss that you fight, once you get their health down to 0, you then have to do a segment of QTEs, which is everyone's favorite thing. You have to do a bunch of QTEs to finish off the boss, but it's not like a QTE like press X now, press Y now. It is a translucent circle that's on the screen while stuff's going on, and there's a bigger circle and it goes wow, but it's not like at a perfect time, and you just have to hit a button when they go and meet up while all this other stuff's going on, and it's partially invisible and it goes at a different speed, so it kind of starts slow and then it goes nip. And so you have to hit it when it goes like that. And if you miss any of them on any fight, and you have to do multiple ones, the boss hits you, does a ton of damage, and then regains their health. Do it all again. I hate you. I hate that game.
That sucks.
That game, that honestly, I might rage stream that game one time, because I love the atmosphere. I love Castlevania and the ambiance, but that game's design, I've never played a game where I loved it visually so much, but playing it, the actual game design is one of the worst designed games I have ever played. That is literally every single boss fight in that game. And I heard Lords of Shadow 2 is even worse, and I haven't played it, but I love its story.
I don't know anything about Lords of Shadow other than I've heard the name of the franchise.
It was their attempt to relaunch Castlevania and make it like a serious series. So before that, Castlevania, which the Metroidvania Castlevanias are incredible, like Symphony of the Night. It's like there's 2 Metroidvanias. Take your pick, Super Metroid or Symphony of the Night. Those are the best Metroid. I mean, you're a Metroidvania god. You've played Symphony of the Night, right?
It's been a long time, but yeah.
So it's like a lot of people say Super Metroid or Symphony of the Night, which is the best Metroidvania. And all the Metroidvania Castlevanias are golden, and all the classic Castlevanias are great if you like the hardcore, old school punishing games. This was their attempt to be like God of War is popular. It came out around that time, and everyone's doing story-based third-person spectacle fighters like Bayonetta, like Devil May Cry. So that was their attempt to do that for Castlevania, and it was big budget. It has Patrick Stewart, and they somehow have Kojima's name in the intro, even though Kojima doesn't have a lot to do with it.
Wait, what game are you? I think I had a completely different game in my head.
Castlevania Lords of Shadow.
I was thinking, okay, oh my god, I'm an idiot.
No.
I was thinking you were talking about a completely different game. I was thinking you were talking about the game series called Lords of the Fallen.
I thought the same thing. Wait, yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that weird game in like the new gen era that no one played.
No.
Lords of the Fallen, I've heard of the name, and that's about it. Lords of Shadow, I 100%ed on Xbox 360, so I love that game.
Oh my god! But do you remember the QTEs and the bosses? I did not
clue into that being a Castlevania at all. I thought you were talking about like an obscure PS4 title.
No.
Yeah, Castlevania, Lords of Shadow. Yes, I liked the first one. I have the second one, and I've played a little bit of it, but I haven't played all the way through.
I like the story of the second one. That's
now we're all on the same page. Yeah. That was completely my fault. I was thinking completely different game. now that you mention it and we're tracking, I don't remember having that trouble.
Really?
My biggest problem with Lords of Shadow was the final DLC boss at the very end of the DLC, because there was no health restoring basically through the entire level. So you get to the boss and you have to play it on the hardest difficulty to get all the achievements. So you have to play this whole last level on the hardest difficulty, and there's no health through the whole thing. And so whatever health you have going into the final boss is how much you have to complete him. You can die and start at the last checkpoint, but there's no way to regain your health.
God.
So that was my biggest complaint. But
that game's designed top down. There's that level where you have to like speed run through a village or something. It's a blur and like it's so directionless. There's a level where you have to learn chess against that little girl, and it's just
oh, that's right.
And the clock tower stuff, and you have to just like everything. I actually want to replay it just to refresh my hatred. I need to play through it again just to be like, why did I hate this so much? But I do remember the QTEs. Like every boss ended in a QTE, and the semicircle stuff. A lot of people give crap to Spider-Man 3's QTEs. I prefer those because at least they're button prompts and they tell you which buttons to press. Yeah, they're not on screen long enough and they screw you over. But tell me what button to press. I don't like QTEs, but if you're going to put one in, tell me what button to press instead of the translucent circle on circle action that this game was giving me. You know what? Just get rid of QTEs. Nobody likes them. Nobody likes them.
Yeah, I'm a hack and slash fan, so I liked Lords of Shadow, and that was actually the first Castlevania game I ever played. I didn't play Symphony Night until after that.
Oh my god!
But that also kind of how we were talking about earlier, Shadow of the Colossus. It had some inspiration from that because some of the bosses you climb around on, just like in Shadow of the Colossus.
And I hated it in Lords of Shadow because it had the shaking thing where the boss would randomly shake and knock you off, and you'd go all the way down and take damage.
Yeah, it was when you mentioned Patrick Stewart, I was like, I remember Patrick Stewart being in a Castlevania game, and then I was like, wait a minute, I'm thinking of Lords of the Fallen, and you're talking about Lords of Shadow, and that's where I put it together for
me. There was this weird era for about 3 years where Patrick Stewart was in a lot of video games, and that was one of them. He was also in Oblivion. Yep. Yeah, and I think there was a few more. He was in X-Men Legends, and that's one of my favorite games ever. That was years before this, but Patrick Stewart was just like, all right, I guess I'll take a script and get money, and yeah, he would just do whatever. So yeah, it was weird.
I don't remember the QTEs being a problem in Lords of Shadow, but what you were describing almost perfectly encapsulates the QTEs in Azura's Wrath, which I played earlier this year. And I did a whole 30-minute rant on that on the Xbox podcast that I'm really plugged into, Achievement Hunting 101. So I want to get the recording for that and post just the audio so you can listen to me rant about the game itself is good. Just the achievements in Azura's Wrath were terrible, but the QTEs in Azura's Wrath were very similar to what you were just describing with the ones in Lords of Shadow.
Yeah, and this game's actually been recommended to me a lot. I've never played it, but it looks good. It's like an anime game, and it's just balls to the wall crazy. It's like fighting God, and it's just silly.
It's this ridiculously nuts, over the top action on rails anime beat 'em up on rail shooter. It's this weird hybrid of genres, but if you wanted to play in anime, this is like the poster. Azura's Wrath is the poster child for that. But yeah, if you're going for the 100% completion on the achievements, it's terrible. But if you just want to play through the story, it's fine. And it's not very long. You can get through the story pretty quickly. But
I think it's one of those games where you can actually do it on like one sitting. I think it kind of plays like a movie.
You could. Yeah, because the levels aren't very long. If you're skipping as many of the cutscenes as possible, because the cutscenes that have QTEs in, you can't skip, but the ones that don't have QTEs, you can skip. Although I wouldn't recommend it on a first playthrough. But if you were skipping all the cutscenes, you can get through the game pretty quick.
Yeah, I do love spectacle fighters. I think I've said it before, but Bayonetta has just ruined the genre for me. Similar to how Brutal Doom almost ruined shooters for me, but I love shooters too much. But
Devil May Cry is better than Bayonetta.
How dare you? Bayonetta is so good, it ruined an entire genre. I really got to play Bayonetta 3 because she's my girl. She's my lovely Umbra witch. And
they're both great, but Devil May Cry still wins.
How dare you? How dare you insult my wife?
DMC5, right?
Oh yeah, DMC5 is great.
Wow,
they're
I
all
thought that
good,
was the controversial one.
No, DMC 2015 is what you're.
Yeah,
like one that
DMC
just titled.
2015.
Yeah, But
that's
the
the
newest Devil May
self-insert
Cry
game.
is shorthand DMC5. Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
that
I was trying
game.
to stir up more.
Kay, you should hate stream that game because DMC it's a terrible game for it spitting in the franchise's face. But I think the gameplay is actually really good.
I've heard that if you can get over the insulting the franchise, it's a really good game.
If you can get over the fact that it spits in your face the entire time to be like, screw this franchise you love, it's actually a pleasant experience.
It destroys just the
Paul says it's the GOAT.
He does it to troll me though. He just
I know.
Do a little trolling.
What's up,
just like
Static?
you did on Wind Waker.
Yeah. What's up, Static? Yeah, you need to check out Bayonetta. Great game. I don't think I've seen you on my channel before, but I know of you, and they just sent me a link to the stream that they were on your channel, and I'm going to be watching that probably later today.
Oh man, we had a blast. We had a blast. Yeah. Static, stay hi to Steve for me. He's still dodging my grinder calls. Steve, where are you? I love you and I miss you.
So the last one I wanted to talk about, which was the inspiration for this question, and you'll probably like this because it actually is a turn-based RPG that I actually enjoyed.
What?
And
I'm kind of shocked.
Yeah, it's published by Ubisoft. Who is the developer? I'm going to see if you can.
Published by Ubisoft. Oh, I think I know what you're talking. I know what game you're talking about. I think I know it.
And developed by Obsidian.
Yep.
What game?
Maybe the best turn-based RPG ever, in my opinion, actually.
What am I going to be talking about, James?
You're going to be talking about South Park.
Yes.
Yes, I guess
Paper Mario is the reason why that game is good. Like, are we real? Like, every time I'm on these shows with you guys, you always talk about South Park, and no one talks about Paper Mario, Thousand Year Door, and Paper Mario 6.
I'm playing
all this.
I'm playing Super Mario RPG in November. Okay, don't worry. I'm actually really hyped for it.
It's a spiritual successor, Paper Mario. Anyways, I'm interrupting.
South Park's so good.
Everyone gives South Park credit for the best RPG.
Maybe
I'm not saying it's the best. It's just a turn-based RPG I enjoyed.
The DLC to the sequel is maybe the best DLC ever. I loved that.
Which one is that? Casa Bonita?
I loved the Casa Bonita one. I was thinking of that one, and it's got the goth kids. I loved the goth kids, but they had a whole DLC that was horror-based and horror-themed, and as a huge horror fan, it was like really accurate and really good. It's like Friday the 13th, the game, and it's very Jason Voorhees. Do you remember that? And you get the final girl one.
I haven't played the DLC for
it's so
for the
good.
second one, so I still need to play through it again because I still need to get the achievement for beating it on the hardest difficulty. So I'll probably do the DLC at that point.
I actually had a tweet go viral because they announced a new South Park game, and it looks really cheap and lame. It's something. It's called Snow Day.
Yeah, they just announced that this week, I think.
And I just commented right on the developers being like, the turn-based games deserve to be a trilogy. And that caused so much flaring up and heat. And people were like, but this is a different developer. And I'm like, I know. I am just stating that the turn-based games deserve to be a trilogy.
We need a third one.
So, yeah, they're so good.
So I played through the first one, Stick of Truth. I played multiple times because the achievements in that game are terrible. There's tons of missables, and some of them you may not even know about till the end of the game. Then you got to play through the whole game again. Lots of missables. So the achievements are terrible, but good game. Where I was going with this is Fractured But Whole. The final boss of the game is Mitch Connors, which is Cartman's hand. And he's got eyes and a mouth. And Mitch Connors. And he cheats like no other. You'll hit him, and he'll be like, nah, I didn't take damage. You take the damage. And then you take the damage instead. And he just changes the rules of the entire game. 2 games now where the rules are essentially the same. And he just makes up arbitrary rules and just changes everything on the fly. And he's like, oh no, I reflect that. So now your party member takes this damage instead of me. And I'm going to give myself more health. And he just gives himself more health. The cheapest boss I've ever seen in a video game of all time.
Yeah, no, it's
so
what I'm
talking about.
But you can't help but love it. Like, it was like total bullshit.
Oh, it's insanely creative, though.
It's so funny. Like, you're laughing the whole way through.
It's like, I hate you, but this is funny.
Yeah, I don't know how many times like you lost on it. I only think I lost once or twice, so it still stayed funny. But I imagine if it gave you a lot of trouble and you're like on your 30th attempt, it's like, shut up, Mitch Connors. Like, it probably loses its funny at that point. But
I remember it took me a number of attempts to finally beat him. I don't remember it taking a ton, like Ninja Gaiden, where I'm on my 50th attempt on a boss. But I do remember it probably took me somewhere between 5 and 10 attempts.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I can imagine. That wasn't even the boss that gave me the hardest time. It was in Fractured Butthole, but it was whatever that boss was. That was like the big. I think it was the final boss, but the big like monstery thing,
the demon thing coming out of the hole.
It was like a big, huge mess. I don't remember it exactly, but it was a big like mess of a monster or whatever. Like I remember that one, and it's like really close to the final boss, if not being the final boss.
Because there's a couple that could be. The other one that I know you weren't talking about, but is a completely optional boss is Morgan Freeman. He's not cheap. He's just really difficult.
Oh yeah,
but you don't have to fight him. You have to initiate that fight, and he'll be your friend until you hit him 3 times, and they'll be like, "All right, it's on." Mm-hmm. But so it the.
Oh yeah, it was Kyle's cousin Kyle. That was the hardest boss for me.
Okay, yeah. So in Fractured But Whole, it's a turn-based game just like the first one. However, there are like 3 bosses through the game that operate on a real-time timer, and they'll get to go regardless of whose turn it is. And if it's your turn, like let's say maybe you're 4 people versus 5 other enemies. When your enemies may end their turn, it comes to you, but the boss's real-time timer hits 0, and then it steals, it skips your turn, and then they go and they get to do whatever they want. And usually they're large and they move forward and they reduce the amount of space that you have on the level, and you got to move all your characters up or they die and you got to start it over again. So that aspect of a lot of those boss fights was really cheap too, but Mitch Connors was the worst because at least the other stuff, it's coming because you see the real-time timer. But Mitch Connors, he just makes stuff up on the fly and just changes the rules of the game. You're 2 games in, and then he just flips everything on its head.
Yeah, no.
There's this giant fat stripper who's the first one that you fight that's right. Operates on a real-time timer. There's Kyle's cousin who he'll show up every once in a while. And then he'll take like 1 hit and they'll be like, mommy, and then he'll run away. But then he becomes this giant mutated boss at the end of the game. And then there's also this like demon from the underworld. It's like these tentacles sticking out of the ground that operates the same thing. So, but yeah, I want to talk about Mitch Connors because that is one of the cheapest bosses I've ever fought because he literally cheats.
It's like the perfect parody of everything too, though. It's like I can understand a love-hate relationship with that. It's like this is like insanely clever in this format, but dear God, that should not be a thing ever.
Leave it to South Park to do something like that.
I gotta say to chat like that. Even though there's a lot of bullshit bosses in this game, like it is such a freaking good game. I cannot recommend it enough, especially the DLC. If you guys are looking for something to play this Halloween. I looked it up. It's the Bring the Crunch, Mintberry Crunch, Shablagoo. That DLC is the horror DLC, and as a huge horror fan, it hits that Halloween perfectly. Neo, you gotta play it. It is so freaking fun.
Yeah, I still gotta play through Fractured But Whole one more time because I still need to get that last achievement. So when I do, I'll play through the DLC as well.
That on for sure.
And right here at the end, Nerdpoil hops in another stream. Figure out to pay tribute. Thanks for hopping in. I did mention you earlier. I think it was you because we were talking about Zelda issues that we had with Zelda games, and I'm pretty sure it was Nerdpoil that was saying that he had this problem. So, so yeah, that about does it for now. So before we sign off here, what you guys got going on in your channel coming up?
Let's see, what do we have? So I'm Melee K, one half of the Melee Games crew. We've got, I guess, quite a bit coming up, actually. On Monday, we're going to have a special show at 6 p.m. PST, and that's going to be with DJ Axis and Paul Hadoken, and I'm going to talk to them about the music stuff in video games. So it's going to be super fun, because for those who don't know, they both provide music for our streams. They both create like such great scores, both like original, and they also remix a lot of video game music. So I want to deep dive into their brains and really understand like what inspired you, what kind of music do you like in video games, like just really deep dive. So it's going to be a lot of fun.
On my OBS test stream the other night, I was using their music in the background.
Yeah, they do excellent music. Highly recommend checking both of them out. So that's going to be on Monday. Next week, at the end of the week, we'll have our Melee Madness podcast that comes out every 2 weeks. So you'll see me and James yell at each other for 2 hours. It'll be fun.
I love listening to that.
Thank you.
And then other than that, we have side scrollers coming up in a few weeks. So we'll be there on the 29th, I think.
Sweet.
I'm bad with dates.
I think that's what I remember you saying.
It's the beginning of the week.
I think it's the 25th.
25th.
I think.
Yes, 25th.
Yeah.
So
25th is a Monday.
Yeah, and we're going to be on Side Scrollers, our second appearance. I am so surprised we got invited back on, but you know what? Nerdy Neo can somehow tolerate us, so I guess Craig can tolerate us as well. I don't know how.
But yeah, that's really what's going on our end, and then of course James is going to be doing streams in between. It won't be just those things going on.
Well, you got to mention TMNT. A lot of people
are
excited for that.
So that week, we have side scrollers on Monday. This will be at the end of the month, and then we're gonna have 2 sessions of TMNT Shredder's Revenge, one on Tuesday and one on Friday. We still have 1 spot open for Friday on Xbox, but Steam is full on Tuesday, so we're gonna be playing that on the channel as well. We do a lot of community events, so if you can't make it to that one, there's going to be many more where you can participate and play. We've done Rocket League, we've done Duck Game, all sorts of stuff. We have a good time.
Yeah, so Nerdpoils want to know more about like what you do in general. So they do a lot of stuff. They do, their Melee Madness podcast where they talk about games. They come on streams. James streams games all the time. They do community events. So get plugged in. Join their Discord. I'll put the link to that in the show notes. So
thank you.
Great community. It's pretty small, but we got some really good dedicated fans. So we're pretty tight knit. So, James, anything?
I can talk. I can talk forever. Hello, everyone tuning in new. I am Melee James of Melee Games. It is a 2-man show you got going on with us here. Melee K does all the amazing, lovely community stuff. She is a lovely person. Not me, however. For some reason, I am the person that does most of the video game streaming, and I stream whatever I want when I want. And a lot of what I stream is games that nobody cares about anymore. So what are we going to be doing? What are we going to be streaming on the channel? Well, we are probably going to be doing more Doom 64. I had a lot of fun playing Doom 64 at 3 a.m. And we overlaid the soundtrack with Banjo-Kazooie. So our follow-up, and it worked so well. Like murdering demons to banjo music was amazing. So I'm going to be doing more of that. I want to go back into Toy Story 2. And I also want to hate play some games. So I play games I love and I get mad at them, but I also will hate play new things. So I might be doing Gotham Knight, and I might be hate playing that because I'm a huge Batman fan, but I'm dreading playing that game.
Oh, the new Gotham Knights.
Yeah, that is going to be a miserable, painful experience. On top of that, so many lovely people in our community have actually bought me games that they want to see me play. So thanks to In Black Belt, I'm going to be trying out Pizza Tower really soon on stream, and I hear that's a really good game. And I have a friend over on Twitter, Gory, who is a fellow point-and-click fan, and so he brought me Broken Sword, which is his favorite point-and-click game. I think they're from the 90s. I never played them because I was a LucasArts kid. You're going to see me play a lot of LucasArts games on stream. Games. So yeah, if you want to tune into us, I play a whole variety of games, and I go crazy and yell and swear and do all that sort of stuff and keep you folks entertained. So no matter what, there is something for you over at Melee Games, and it's probably gonna make you go crazy.
I believe I already have your channel in the. Did I pre-add it? Yes, I did. So the link to their channel is already in the show in the description, and I'll add in the link to your Discord as well. So
awesome! Thank you, man.
Appreciate that.
Yeah. So, I think I'm on the wrong tab. There we go. Gotta go back to it. So, for me, I will likely be resuming playing Halo tonight with Alex from the Salty Nerd Podcast. He hasn't confirmed with me, but he's back from his UK trip, so we'll probably be doing that tonight. And then I don't have anyone lined up for my next open mic next week, but I do have Gourd King lined up for open mic the following week. It's going to be on Tuesday. So that is what I got coming up before the next party chat 2 weeks from today. So that about does it for episode 5. So again, thanks for joining me, you guys. I love having you on. You're some of my favorite YouTube peoples. I've got a lot of
feeling is mutual.
We have so much fun here.
Yeah.
So, well, that about does it. So we will catch you guys later. And in the meantime, everyone, game on.